Well, it's good to see that YouTube's working. I actually, for once, got a notification when I hit the live button. Wow. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure once again to introduce my co-hosts for the fortnightly 5150 show. We have the Rum Meister and we have Brad Cook. So thank you very much, guys, for jumping on board. And I look forward to this show. This is a special one. This is one that should get a few opinions crossed, maybe. There's a couple of ideas out there, a couple of opinions amongst Van Halen fans on this album, but I look forward to sharing this time with Steve Anderson and Brad.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, nice to see you again, Andrew. Your guitars look like they're still in the same sequence behind you. Oh, where's the tobacco burst Fender Strat over your right side behind right? It looks like silver ones back there. Where's the tobacco burst?
No, that's my resonator.
Okay.
That's my vintage Les Paul Peter Green. That's my EVH 5150. Unfortunately, I haven't made one yet, but maybe I need to talk to Steve Anderson about doing something like that later on.
Yeah,
that's my.
Right
I'm glad you've got that because I've seen some of your posts, and that there is my Axis, my Ernieballmusicman. So, and that's my Clapton Stratocaster. So yeah.
Nice.
We're jealous.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And Brad, Sarah, any trips out on the lake in Victoria?
No. Actually, yes. I get out every day. I get out there and have a
wow. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. It was really clear here and not as cold as it's been for some reason today. Really sunny on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, BC, Canada here. Yep, it's a good day. So guys, yeah, we're going to be talking about the Balance album, but just before we get going on that, I do have our new one of our segments here, What's in the Box?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what was really recent for me was I just got this magazine from Japan. Just came in. So this is a young guitar, and it says in memory of Edward Van Halen. So sort of hot off the press. I know a lot of other magazines have just put a lot of sort of fast, in my opinion, were kind of money grab ones, just get them out there fast. But this one, they put some work to. There's a great transcription of the song One Way to Rock from Live Without a Net in this. which I've never seen ever, a transcription of that. They actually made a mistake. Me and Dr. Alan Garber, our friend Alan, we're always sticklers for correctness. In this magazine, they say One Way to Rock from Right Here, Right Now. But I don't think Right Here, Right Now, One Way to Rock was on that. But that was probably a faux pas. I think so. It'd be from Live Without a Net. So that's super cool. That this one has it. That's, of course, that's Eddie from the 1984 tour. You can see he's got the striped yellow and black pants. He is playing the 5150 guitar, and it's got some cool photos in here. I'll show the one. It's always the one I like. Where is it? It's in here somewhere. There's a photo of the 51
Hey, Simon.
guitar. Simon Williams in the house.
Yes, Simon's here. We've got 6 people watching, and while Steve is looking for that photo, we're streaming live on the Van Halen with Sammyhagar Facebook group as well. Hey, Alan. Yeah, that's beautiful.
Here's a cool shot of Eddie. This would have been from the 1984 tour. There's the 5150 guitar. And yeah, pretty cool. And kind of a rare thing is he has black picks sort of attached to the duct tape or whatever he's using to have the picks stuck to his guitar. But yeah, I highly recommend this one. It's chock full of stuff. It's got here's the shark guitar. Like there's photos of all the main guitars that we know. These young guitars do a great job. Here's the Frankenstein in a couple of different versions, white with black stripes and the red with black and white. Different neck on this one with this headstock, a little bit different. It's had different necks on that one.
So when was that published, Steve? Was that recently? That
Yeah, it's in from Japan. It's young guitar for December 2020.
Okay.
So where we are right now. Here's the bumblebee. Black with yellow stripe. And the 5150 should be here in a second. Yeah, here
that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah,
that.
So that's a pretty good spread of that one. So that's super cool. I highly recommend this one. It's pretty solid. It's all in Japanese though, so you got to put up with that. I mean, it's about the photos, and I got a cool transcription. 224 pages. So this isn't like a North American newsstand magazine. Like 224 pages. So it's a pretty good memorial, I guess, to Eddie. So they don't mess around in Japan. You kind of notice even with vinyl records I get, they sure don't mess around, do they? Yeah, so that was
so Steve, in Japan, you know, Eddie still must be a huge influence for them to produce a magazine of that quality for December. You know, no rehash articles that we're getting like in Rolling Stone or, you know, some of these other magazines. That's a wonderful achievement for the Japanese publishers and Japanese fans, isn't it?
Yeah, like here's an older one I have. It has the bumblebee on the cover. This is Van Halen. It says
Hi, Teresa.
Live tour in Japan, 1978 and 79. And look at this thing. It's an encyclopedia.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, they don't mess around. I mean, I'll just try to find some of the clearer photos here. Hold on. Give me something. Like, look at this. This is 1978, September in New York.
Wow.
Like, this is a big magazine, this one. It's got some cool shots in it. Hold on.
Wow.
Yeah. And you get these rare ones that are pretty cool that you haven't really seen before. Hold on. Like here's 4 shots of Eddie with the bumblebee live. So a lot of times you might get one photo, but here, like it's an encyclopedia of the 1978 and 79 tour in Japan when they played there.
Hey,
so yeah, it's pretty neat. So that's just an example. In Japan, they don't mess around. So and a lot of these replica guitars that guys build, like myself, these Japanese magazines, they show the back of the guitars a lot. So you didn't even know what the back of the Bumblebee looked like, or what the back of the Kramer 1984 looked like, and all of a sudden they'd have it displayed. And then everyone was like, "Oh my God, I gotta sand down the back of my guitar and redo the stripes on the back." I've got one of those here. This is called the Guitar Man. This is from Japan. It's not as thick, but the Guitar Man. So this is Eddie. This would be, again, the Fairwarning tour with the straight socks.
Yep.
So I'll give you an example of that. Hold on.
Hey, Ivan. Thanks for joining us, brother.
So here, over here where my pinky is. Like it shows the front of the guitar up here at my index finger, and then at my pinky, that's the back, the way it's supposed to look. And so a lot of people get upset, like the evhstripedseries guitars, the fronts look correct where my middle finger is, but the backs don't even look close to that. So people get all mad, and I try to explain to them, the EVH guitars are just tribute guitars. They're not exact replicas. And
that's correct.
So, like, I'll show you that bottom one there, down here where my pinky is, and see how there's that sort of H on the bottom right, sort of sideways. It looks like an H.
Yep.
That pattern, yeah. So there's that, and I'll show you the Charvel EVH Art Series Bumblebee I own. So these came out in 2004. So the front, yeah, they do the fronts pretty good, but it's the back, and that H isn't down here. Like I said in that magazine, you're looking at it like this, like it's not even the same pattern. So that's why guys get mad. So that's why those Japanese magazines were great, because they showed the backs of all his touring guitars.
So isn't it interesting that the American magazines like Guitar World and Guitar Player, who pride themselves in being the definitive word on guitar players and gear, never did that. Never bothered to put the photograph of the back of a guitar. You know,
no, so that's what I was getting at with as far as the Japanese media or advertising, whoever's in charge of all this stuff, like how detailed they get. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. So that's the latest as far as what's in the box. And as far as the Guru collectibles go, this is OU812 from Argentina. And I know it doesn't look, all of them look the same as far as the cover goes. But what's interesting when you get down to Argentina and South America, everybody speaks Spanish except in Brazil. Brazil, they speak Portuguese. But on the actual label, like on the sticker on the vinyl and on the back of the album, here's the monkey we've talked about before. The titles up here are in Spanish.
Wow.
So, like Mine All Mine is Show Todo Show. That's Mine All Mine.
Show Todo Show.
Yeah, Show Todo Show. Yeah. When It's Love, Cuando de Amor. Yeah. Of course, Cabo Wabo is a label name, so that's the same. That's the only one that is. Yeah, so that's just it's a vinyl collecting thing. When you get these records from around the world, I have a real interest in that, is just the different variations. So that's pretty cool that here you are, and the stuff's all written in Spanish. So I think that's pretty unique. Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining us. Yeah, Kurt. No, we were scheduled to go today, and I was supposed to go to a get together with some friends, but the weather today isn't good, so we managed to go back to the time frame that we had. Yeah, sorry for mucking it all up, guys, but we do appreciate you jumping on board and hanging out with us.
Yeah, and I guess another category.
Hey,
Sorry to go on and on, guys, but I'm doing
No, go for it.
Sorry, this is another Kramer 5150 build. I haven't done the black stripes yet. I had a bunch of parts, so I put the humpback, the Floyd Rose humpback saddles. That's what these are called. True to the era, around 1982, 1983. We're trying to do an exact replica, and yeah, striping wise, pretty much dead on. There's a lot of people post these guitars with tons of errors. Particularly is right here is this stripe. It comes from the back and comes up to the edge, but doesn't go onto the face of the body. So a lot of people don't see that when they do the side stripe. They don't know that this one actually comes over the side stripe. This is getting really nerdy, but for me, I got to have it right. And like this stripe doesn't meet the side stripe. That's accurate. And these two here, this one and this one, they actually come on a bit of an angle. And so it's like the bottom corner reaches it, but then the outside on the right doesn't meet the edge. So just really geeky stuff. There's another one. There's another one here. There's two stripes sort of come together. One of them meets the side stripe and the other one doesn't. I know it's a bit shiny, guys. I just painted this thing a couple days ago. Yeah, anyway, there's that. And then definitely on the back of the headstock here, this meets very close to this, we call this the skunk stripe on the back of the neck.
Yep.
This point here comes very close. Like you'll see on yours, Fender Guru, it's really short. So yeah, we're going for accuracy and even down to the paint. So this is a different game. Other Kramer 5150s before, I was doing them with Schwinn bike paint. It's basically, I'm in a Facebook group and they're yelling and screaming about, it's called Chevy Red Orange from like 1982. So I went to an auto parts company and it's all computerized. You can say any year of a car, what car it is, the year, the paint number, and it's all computerized. And he just made me 3 cans of this color, like on the spot. And so this is, yeah, it's called 1982 Chevy Red Orange. The code is WA7753. The paint card is called 71. So apparently that's what was actually used with it. The white on this, it's called Ford Wimbledon White.
Wow.
And so whatever. If people are yelling and screaming, I'll give it a go. So yeah, the new build. There's this one, and then like I showed you the Charvel Bumblebee. That's sort of the paint job's not perfect, so I'm actually contacted a company. It's called Dive Bomb Incorporated. They do like a relict 1979 tour Bumblebee neck and a body that's accurate. So those guys are sending me a body and a neck. And then I've just been researching paints and stuff, and it's supposed to be, it's called Duplicolor Chrome Yellow. That's the yellow it's kind of like school bus yellow. That's for doing a Bumblebee replica. So I'm doing one, a replica of like the summer of '79 Japan tour. And that's basically that $20,000 or $25,000 one that EVH put out like last year. But I'm just going to build one myself, because I can do one it's about $2,000 to build a guitar. So yeah, I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
So that guitar that you're building, is that a commissioned guitar for one of your friends, Steve, or is it just for your own personal stock?
It's not for personal stock, no. It's
okay.
It's going to be shipped to Detroit, Michigan, in the United States. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we should do a bit of a shout out before we go on to the next segment. We've got Simon Williams in the chat, Johnny Bean, Jay from 7/8, Kevin's joining us, Caleb, Dan from New Jersey, Jesus Rapes Me, Teresa, Kurt, who's a good friend of the channel, Mike Nees, Frank Corcoran, Mike Lombardo, and I saw Steve Carmichael. And if I've missed anyone else, thank you for joining us. We appreciate the raid. We're just hanging out. We're talking Van Halen bits and pieces. You can never get enough Van Halen. We do appreciate you joining us. And if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, we would appreciate it. So please hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you guys, Brad, did you have something you wanted to show? Did you have something before we start?
Mine compared to yours.
No, it's all good, man. It's just that's what's going on in my world. There you go.
So I bought this when it came out back in the day.
Oh, nice.
What love can do.
Yeah. It still has the original sticker on it.
Yes. It cost me $7.95 Australian dollars for
Nice.
that. And it's got, back in the day, I bought this. I think this came out just before the record came out. It's got Don't Tell Me What to Do. It's got an edit version of it on there.
Oh, nice.
And then 3 live tracks, but I think they're from the live record that they released.
Oh, right here, right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So probably that Don't Tell Me edit is probably the video version, which I actually prefer.
Here's that one, yes. So
yeah.
Obviously, just the CD.
Yeah.
Version. So yeah, we know what that is. We're just about to hit that, but that's my show and tell for today. It's very insignificant compared to yours.
No, man. No. I'm excited to see anything. This is better than sitting here watching a movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So this is the short point that Steve was talking about on the EVH guitars, as opposed to the correct point on.
Yeah, it's just longer. Yeah.
So that's short.
Yeah, and it's missing the skunk stroke for accuracy, right?
Yeah, and that's the long of it.
Yeah, it's just the difference between EV8 sort of. I mean, they're cool. I have one, but I love the accuracy and also the fact that Eddie, you know, always had different necks and paint jobs, and you could never buy them in a store, and certain pickups and certain hardware. And you got to dig to get all the correct hardware, but it can be done. It can be done. So yeah.
Look, I appreciate the fact that, you know, guys like me who aren't, you know, technically designed to fiddle around with guitars, you know, we can buy something like this and make a couple of modifications to personalize it. You know, I've swapped out the pickup, put a brass block in there myself and some noiseless springs. So for a guy like me, it's fantastic. You know, it's got the vibe. I'm happy with it. But you know, who wouldn't want an authentic replica of the 5150? You know. Yeah.
Cool. Was there something you wanted to show, Andrew?
No. That's it. I appreciate the fact that you've given us an opportunity to have a look at some of the items you've picked up. It's always interesting.
Okay, good. So what are we talking here? Balance album.
Yeah.
Are we ready for this?
Yeah. Thanks for subbing, guys.
Okay, I'm just going to throw out some fast facts, and I know Andrew's going to have, or Brad's going to have more to say. I know that for sure. That's good. I didn't go that deep. So, okay, if I say something in error, just interrupt me. I have no problem with that. So, 10th studio release by Van Halen, January 24th, 1995. Warner Brothers Records. The last of 4 studio releases with sammyhagar. Reached #1 on the US Billboard 200 in February of 95. So it didn't debut #1 like I think the previous 3 had debuted #1. But yeah, so it took a month or so. It was triple platinum by May 12th, 2004. So platinum, that'd be 1 million is platinum. So it would be 3 million albums sold by May 12th, 2004. And 7 Seal, I know that's one of Andrew's favorite songs, was nominated for a Grammy for Best Hard Rock Performance. Yeah, so that was interesting. And produced by Bruce Fairbairn, who passed away, I think, just shortly after that. And just for me, I'm just going to sort of ramble for a second. For me, before even the album's released, it was I think late December of 94, the video for Don't Tell Me was released. And for me, it was this huge moment. Okay, you had Forunlawful Carnal Knowledge, and, you know, they had Pound Cake and Judgment Day, and I think Top of the World was a single, and of course Right Now was huge, and then they were able to keep touring around, and that went on for a while actually because of that. And then all of a sudden it was okay, what's it going to be like this time? And all of a sudden I just heard, I just talk about it again, it's the goosebumps, just that beginning riff to Don't Tell Me, and it's oh my god, they did it again. And when you're a fan of this band at the time, it was such a huge moment to hear you know, the next release of Van Halen and hear that opening riff of Don't Tell Me. And but of course I'm watching the video, so I've got both things happening at the same time. I got the songs happening and I'm locked into this cool video of the guy getting in a fight. I think he might have abused his wife or something, I don't know what it was, and then he ends up in a jail. And so that was the first video I saw. I think the next video would probably have been Can't Stop Loving You, I think might have been the next video I saw. And you see the same kid that was in the jail and Don't Tell Me getting released from jail in the Can't Stop Loving You video. And then I think Not Enough, I've had a video as well. I'm sure guys are saying stuff in the chat here, but yeah, right on. And yeah, for me, guys, I saw the tour in an amphitheater in the middle of Washington State. I drive a couple hours down to Seattle and go about 3 hours east to, it's called the Gorge in George Washington's outdoor amphitheater. The Columbia River, like when you're looking at the stage, it runs from your left, the Columbia River, like in behind the stage and like into the distance as far as you can see. It's a pretty amazing place. I've gone to Lollapalooza tours there every year back in the 90s. And yeah, I saw the tour. I will say something. I know Brad had held up the cover of the album. I would say for me, I think Diverdown would be my least favorite album cover, but probably this one would be next in line. I don't know where you guys stand with this, but when I think of the word balance, and maybe what this cover of this could have been was like a guy standing over like the Grand Canyon on a high wire with a big pole or something, like trying to balance himself on a pole. I understand it's a teeter-totter, but if you guys want to, I didn't Wikipedia the meaning of the Balance album cover. If you guys have details about that, I've never looked it up. I'm not that into that part of it, but I personally thought it should have been something else myself. Yeah. What do you guys think of the album cover?
I like this. They should have put this as the album cover, what they actually put on the CD.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did. Leonardo da Vinci's sketch.
Yeah, Brad. Sorry, that was on the front of the tour shirt. The picture of that guy. Yeah.
I really like that. I think that should have probably been.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was getting at. It could have been that. I mean, that's obviously some kind of photo, maybe from an encyclopedia or something. I don't know. But
well, there was some controversy, wasn't there, Steve, in Japan? You know, in Japan, I think they just had one model on the cover as opposed to the Siamese twins. I think that was an issue that they had. They censored it. Oh yeah. So Kurt S in the chat says, because he's around the Seattle area, so he saw the same show that I was at. Yeah. Fantastic. Cool. Kurt is a big-time Van Halen fan, and we talk on other social media forums, so we always appreciate him jumping on. And everyone else, thank you for joining Steve and Brad and I talking about the Balance album. So yeah, give us some of your opinions on the songs as we dig deep into the songs. Share your opinions with everyone in the chat too. Yeah. I just want to say Brad has like infiltrated my brain a little bit. So I actually have more than one page. I actually have 2 pages back to back.
At least my influence is good on at least a couple of people.
Oh yeah, are you kidding me? I'm still looking at that amp behind you that I love. That old amp. Yeah. The cabinet. Yeah, that cabinet. I love that cabinet. Yeah.
The beast. Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, we want to start with the first track here. I think before we get into that, I just want to share just a couple of thoughts with you guys and everyone in the chat. You know, when this Balance album came out, January '95, I remember driving, you know, to the CD shop to pick it up, excited to pick it up. And hoping like heck that it's not grungy, because I remember thinking that, because grunge was the dominant music, rock music style at the time, and you know, being pleasantly surprised when I stuck the CD in. So another little point too, you know, a couple of weeks ago I did a show with Brad and Simon, rating the tracks on Physical Graffiti. Now that album came out in 1975, but this album for me in 1995, this is my Physical Graffiti. This is my album. This is something that resonates with me, because I remember, you know, having to go to buy it when it was coming out and talking about it with some friends. You know, social media wasn't a big deal back then, but big album for me.
Definitely. Same thing for me, Andrew. And I'll just sort of shadow a little bit of what you were saying there. For me, same thing. You know, Carnal Knowledge was my very first album that I went and bought that was relevant at the time being released. That was like my first Van Halen reference. So what I'm getting at is I actually drove to the record store, purchased the CD and I think the CD single at the same time, just whatever I could get my hands on. I was red hot. I just had to have it. I was just put it on in the car on the way home, just blown away. So this era of Van Halen for me is like, yeah, I can almost relate it to like the physical graffiti for Van Halen, to be honest with you. And in retrospect, looking back now, you know, Van Halen 3, when that came out, I was hoping for the same sounds, even though it had Gary on it. I was hoping for the same sounds that were on this. And I think that, you know, without sort of knocking that album too much, that's where it was lacking a bit. And I think the production of this record was so good, like sound-wise and mix-wise, that the drums were so lost in Van Halen 3 to me, and the mix just seemed washy and almost like a Pro Tools demo rather than it being a proper mixed and mastered type release. So for me, I just have to say that after this album, I was Van Halen nut. I was hooked. That Van Halen did that I could get my hands on. Obviously, around this time as well, I must admit, I went backwards and I started buying. I had 1984. I started buying all the earlier rock as well. So, you know, I was a late bloomer when it came to getting into guitar and buying records and stuff like that. So when I eventually started working, that was me. I specifically remember going into HMV, and I don't think these were on the shelf yet. I think just the single was. But I'd driven so far into the city, I thought, well, I kept hassling and they ended up selling it to me. So there you go.
Right on. Cool.
I reckon we should get into the songs. I'm itching.
He's itching. Yeah, so just before we start, guys, I just want to talk about your experience the last 2 weeks since the Van Halen 3 album, and now it's like, okay, because I remember A Different Kind of Truth, and Brad was like, he was so excited and pumped and goosebumps listening to A Different Kind of Truth, and then we did the Van Halen 3, and then, like, how were you guys the last couple of weeks with the balance? Loving listening to it again?
Oh, well, we'll see. You know, Balance has been in my vehicle in a CD for 15 years. You know, I listen to this CD regularly. So you know, it's one. Yeah, I love it. But I have to look. You know, one of the things that we always promised when we decided that we were going to, you know, do the 5150 show is that we were going to be honest with some of, you know, with our opinions, and the difference between listening to Van Halen 3 and this album in preparation for the show, because you're tuning into a couple of things perhaps that you wouldn't do normally. It's just the difference is night and day. Yeah, you know, I'm glad. I'm glad we you know, I've had an opportunity to study this album.
For me, same thing for me. Like, to actually go from, I mean, the way we're doing it, going backwards, it's really good, because, you know, you go Van Halen 3. Obviously, we've touched on that one, the sound quality and the mixing and the drums being way back in the mix and everything sounding, everything up front, wall of guitars. Where this is, everything's mixed really well. It was so refreshing to hear Alex up front in the mix. Like, you can really hear the snare and kick, everything's up front. And the songwriting on this, I don't know, there's just, we'll get into the songs obviously, but like, yeah, definitely, it's like night and day. It was completely opposite to each other.
Yeah, I mean, big time.
Yeah, just for the group of us, I probably have it written somewhere in a magazine, like, why from Forunlawful Carnal Knowledge with Andy Johns, like, they had this big sound and he had done Led Zeppelin 4. Like, what happened to him? Why wasn't he on this one? So this, just between us, we can figure that out for the next show. Yeah.
I mean, look,
good point.
For me, yeah, I just, this is so refreshing to study. It was a really good one. I spent a lot of time listening to this.
He's smiling a lot more than he was 2 weeks ago.
Back in the day, I listened every day it came out, and I go through my phases where I don't listen to certain things for a while, but I haven't listened to this, pretty much this year, sort of thing. And listening to it was incredible, really. So.
Yep.
Right on. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So for me, guys, it was like the Van Halen 3. Like we said it song after song. Like I'm trying to like it. Like I was trying, and the guitar tones. There was so many different. They're clean sounds and heavy sounds and soloing sounds and. Like in those slower sort of mellow Sharon songs I was calling it, like I was trying to like it, and you get into this stuff, I don't have to try. It's just good. It's like it'd be like AC/DC writing a bunch of ballads, and you'd be like, oh my god, I'm trying to like it, but when normally it's just there and you like it, right? Yeah. So do we want to start off with the 7th seal now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kick it off.
Yeah, so for me, I know Andrew's going to talk about the chant that's going on at the beginning of the song, so I'm going to leave that for you. Love the opening riff. I love the drum sound. I know Brad's probably going to talk about that. And I love the verse rhythms, the guitar rhythms throughout the verses and the singing in this. I love the vocals in the song. And it's the first time I'm going to bring this up, guys. You know how Van Halen's past, there's always kind of like sort of sexual innuendos in their songs, whether it's Pound Cake or In Good Enough, comparing a woman to stamped A grade beef or whatever. Like this album, it kind of hits a different maturity, I think, as far as the songwriting goes for me. I think there's going to be a song coming up where it leans a bit into that. But this song here, I'm going to bring this subject up. Like when he says, splash that holy water on me, I had never heard Van Halen have a song that enters into like the religious kind of Christian sort of Jesus on the cross. That's going to come up on another song here. I had never necessarily heard that in a song before. I may be wrong. But I think it was a step up, and that's where I have a disappointment of Sammy Hagar is out of the band after this album. And that was sort of a new sort of category lyrically that he had never really been touched before, which I thought was interesting. Like 5150, you talk about aliens and stuff, and Love Walks In and singing about dreams and this and that. But so that's a line in the song that sort of puts it on a higher level for me. And the whole thing where he sings Don't Let Me Drown. And I think this could have been a single. I mean, I had that category, that thing I said where it was actually, I don't know how, but it was nominated for a Grammy as Best Hard Rock Performance. So somewhere along the line, maybe it might have been a single somewhere else in Europe or something. I don't know, but you guys might know something about that. Yeah, I mean, it's just a majestic song all in all. I mean, it's definitely a play for me. I definitely have a song on this record that's a 10 for me. But this, the first week I listened to it, I had it at 9.5. And I love the title, or the second listen, what I wrote was, I love the line that says, where he says, wash away my suffering. So just as a personal thing, if you have a personal difficulty in something, this song's really good for that, actually, sort of on a spiritual level. And I've had that. Like I lost my dad 9 years ago to lung cancer, and my mom this year succumbed basically from her MS complications. And yeah, if you've got some personal problems in that, and you want to sort of figure stuff out in a healthy way, this is a good song to crank. I just think it's a great vocal performance. So yeah, definitely. It's an A. It's a play, 9.5 plus for me. It's an amazing song, and it'd be definitely cruising into probably my top 20 Van Halen songs overall. Yeah, so I have nothing. I definitely have nothing bad to say about it. Basically, I like every part of it. I like the message lyrically. It's something in new territory. But yeah, I'll let Brad go. Yeah.
Is it you,
No,
Andrew,
no,
or
me. It's me. Brad's going to conclude.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Look, I'm glad that you mentioned there was some sophistication in the lyrics occurring on this album. I totally agree with you, Steve. You know, it's good to see that Sammy is, you know, taking a classic film about, you know, a medieval, you know, crusader. An Ingmar Bergman film, you know, that's a classic film. Coming back and finding out that, you know, his village or world is devastated by the plague, and the fact that, you know, too, that Sammy was or is a Catholic, you know, splash that holy water on me, you know, so you know. Introducing metaphysical concepts to your music, to your songwriting is always a good thing. It's a clever thing to do because you can take from that, you know, meanings that reflect your life. And from the research that I've done too, you know, Eddie was going through some spiritual moments when he was going through his alcohol rehabilitation. That's why I think this song is important. I think it's important to the band. I think in some kind of way too, it's like the Beatles. The Beatles were singing to each other in their lyrics and in their songs towards the end. And I think Van Halen were doing that too somehow, because we didn't know at the time in 1995 that the band at that time was going through some inner turmoil. We had no idea. It was just, you know, over the last 10, 15 years, and certainly with Sammy's biography, that's given us some insight into actually what was happening. But I love the song, you know, the Tibetan monks starting to chant, which is really interesting because I certainly remember a couple of magazines at the time, and I knew they were Tibetan monks. I knew it wasn't Gregorian chant, you know, but you know, there were some magazines out there that said, you know, Gregorian chant starts off the song, and no, okay. But anyway, I love the bass run on this song. You can hear the bass run there subtly. Great production. I like what Brad said, and I think this is going to be the whole emphasis behind this album, that you can hear a lot of these instruments. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. Great way to start the album. A simple riff, love it, and it's never a skip.
Well, you guys have covered most of my notes, so I've got half the amount of notes I've written out. So I'll quickly touch on a couple of things.
Hey, Sonia.
I put down the Tibetan monks, the chanting monks, and the dangling bells at the start. The first time I heard that, it gave me goosebumps because I didn't know what to expect. And I have to say, what a way to start an album. Like, phenomenal opening track for a record. If you're looking at a record from a journey perspective, fantastic. You know, the bang and then the drums coming in. It's a darker side of Van Halen, which I kind of really like. I love it when they go that darker edge a little bit. The drenched eventide harmonizer sort of guitar sound, like similar to the Carnal Knowledge vibe. The drums are slamming, like the bass is thundering. Like, I don't know, Michael Anthony's holding that bottom end down, and with the 16 notes, and you mentioned like the fills, his fills between the drum fills, like his bass lines. He's like an unsung hero, in my opinion, Michael Anthony. He really stands strong on this one. Lyrics and vocal, I mean, you touched on the lyrics, so I won't go there, but the vocals are stellar performance from Sammy. You can really hear his chest voice. The breakdown section, I really like that sort of tough resonance in the guitars. You know, it's got that sort of warmth and fatness in the guitars. And the percussion, if you have a listen, there's some really good percussion. You know, and also touching on percussion, the way Eddie is percussive on the guitar as well. I won't go on and on and on because I could, but I give the song 12 out of 10. 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10. Absolutely love the song. That's all I'll say. It's amazing. Great song.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one word I used for it too, just overall, I wrote the word majestic down. Like, it just sounds majestic, and it's that goosebump factor with it, like the riff and going through the verses and the solo and the overall message. I mean, it's just it's pretty powerful. Yeah. Yeah.
Great record.
Right on. So are we going on to the next song, guys?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, that's not a skip, Brad. Obviously, if you've given it 12 out of 10.
I don't even want to say skip. You know, the word doesn't even come into the equation.
All right.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
It's a definite play.
Cool.
Yeah. So guys, next song is Can't Stop Loving You. I mean, for me, whether it's Why Can't This Be Love or When It's Love or, it Can't Stop Loving You, you get that love word in there. For me in my brain, it automatically is playing to the female listener. Like just like automatically. I'm not saying not for guys either. I'm just saying for me, it's automatically like a kind of for a girl song, accessible to them to listen to Van Halen. Because a lot of girls, when I was growing up in school, they wouldn't listen to, somebody get me a doctor or Hot for Teacher. Girls I went to school with aren't listening to that.
Bottoms up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And you're not. But as soon as you bring in Why Can't This Be Love and When It's Love, my mom loved When It's Love. That was my mom's favorite song off a record, right? Like, so it does play to that audience. And as soon as you do that, you're playing to more people. Like and it's automatically radio friendly as well. And Sammy knows the game. He knows how to write a song like this that's going to be potentially on the radio. That's when I hear this song, that's what I think about. I think it's a good song. Listenable for anyone, whether you're male, female, young or old. It's a very listenable song. And if you watch the video, they showed different people, different races, different ages, like hugging and kissing, and it's an uplifting, sort of lovable song, really. But for me, this is the beginning of what we hear on Van Halen 3, is the kind of that clean tone. Eddie kind of uses it right at the beginning of the song. You hear it right out of the gate. Is that clean tone? Not necessarily. It's almost jingly jangly. It's almost halfway there, but that sort of was a new tone that he had found. And I guess one of the other things too that we hadn't mentioned, not that it's a big deal or anything. This was when Eddie did chop his hair, like military cut. He didn't have his long hair anymore. I think this song, I mean, because I know Sammy and how he operates with these sort of love songs, is I guess I understand why it was the second song, but I probably would have put it like maybe further down the list on this record for me. I could have gone with another heavy song. They were like Pound Cake, Judgment Day. I mean, I always think of the album as a whole, right? I just think after Seventh Seal, this big majestic thing, they kicked me in the ass again. Like I wanted something again, just overall when I listened to this album. But yeah, so that was my first listen through. For me, yeah, it's a good song. It's definitely a play, but it's not giving me goosebumps. Like, it's not a 10 or a 9. It's cruising around the 7 or 8 mark for me, because there's such other songs on here that are so huge. I mean, yeah, I'd be listening to those other songs first. So definitely like the Seventh Seal, right? Second time through, yeah, I wrote it. It's a good love song. And this is the category where old Van Halen fans don't like Sammy Hagar, is because of this whole Sammy Hagar sings, some of his stuff is about love and attracting that female audience, whereas old Van Halen, David Lee Roth, doesn't necessarily sing about love. He ain't talking about love. It's that hard edge, sort of whiskey drinking, sort of raspy voice of David Lee Roth. That's their Van Halen. And that's why they can't accept Why Can't This Be Love? Love Walks In, When It's Love. it's just, that's the mentality of someone who loved the band in 1981 on the Fair Warning album. Like, I understand, I get it. And David Lee Roth with the band, you can't touch it. And this is why, is because Sammy likes to sing love songs, which attracts the female audience. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, Van Halen with Sammy Hagar is my favorite Van Halen. I'm just speaking from an old Van Halen fan's perspective. That's why they don't like Van Halen with Sammy Hagar. That's what they tell me. So that's just an interesting thing to think about. Yeah. Anyway, so I gave it 7.5 out of 10 for me overall. I'll play the song. I know it's a good song. It's good songwriting. It's playing to the girls, get it on the radio. I get it. Sammy knows how to do that. It's sort of a formula. You know the formula: intro, verse, chorus, guitar solo, positive vibes. Nothing wrong with it. I'd play the song, but I'd play other songs first before this one for sure. But that's my 2 cents. Go for it.
Yeah, I look, I can understand where you're coming from, Steve. But for me, it was a perfect dovetail from the Seventh Seal, and what I love about the song is it shows us the crafting ability that Sammy Hagar has as a songwriter.
Yep.
You have to sing about love, and I don't necessarily think Steve and Brad and everyone in the chat that it's consciously decided that he's going to write the song to attract to the female audience. The fact that you can put on an album and it's going to appeal to guys and girls is a significant contribution by a band or a songwriter to the total craft of giving you songs. And clearly Sammy Hagar has that. We've got a couple of songs that we're going to talk about later on, but for example, Amsterdam, he can kick out a rocker and also present a ballad that's going to appeal to girls and guys like myself. One little thing before I pass it on to Brad, this album, I love the lead playing that Eddie does on this album, and it's a simple lead. When you follow the lead on this song, it's a simple process that he's going through. It's relatively simple compared to some of the earlier stuff that he did, and I think that's the fluidity of Eddie too, that he wants to sort of match that with the lyrical content that was being supplied to him, or they were, working on together. I'd like to think that they were anyway. It's a 9 out of 10 for me, Steve and Brad, and it's never a skip. I never really thought about changing songs on this album as far as sequencing. I know that we have discussed that on other shows and on other Van Halen albums, but no, I'm happy that it's number 2.
Yeah, so just before Brad goes, there's just something interesting you said there, Andrew. So I guess what I'd say to sort of maybe auto-correct what way I was talking before is, if I was going to play a song from this album for a girl, that would be the song I'd play, and they'd like it.
Top, mate, you'd get, man,
no,
that's the one.
No, that's you understand what I mean, though? I'm not putting it down. I'm just saying, it fits that category. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, I think that would be a perfect song. If you're in a beginning part of a relationship and some girl's saying, why do you like Van Halen so much, Steve? Well, and then Steve will put the song on and she go, oh, I see why you love them.
No, and I would do that for When It's Love. I do that for like Love Walks In is an amazing song. But it's sort of hitting that category. Okay, I'm not going to play a girl Get Up.
No.
What song am I going to play from a girl's perspective? Well, I'm going to play Love Walks In, right? So that's what this song is. I just got to refuel, guys.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. While he's refueling, and before you kick off, Brad, I'll just do some shout outs in the chat. Johnny Bean, Sonia, thank you, Sonia, for joining us. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Bozek, hey man. Jesus Rapes Me, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to the channel because tomorrow Simon, Brad and I are going to be discussing the Beano album. We'll be ranking that and talking about the songs on that album. We've discussed that a few times on the channel. If you guys want to go through and have a look at that album, it's a landmark album, and we'll always be talking about that album. So if you guys want to contribute to that show or any of the songs, please join us.
So it's my go. All right. So
yeah,
I've got to sort of go on Steve's side of it here. I think this could have been a third track on the record. I reckon, you know, Don't Tell Me What Love Can Do probably would have been a better second track. But that's just me. I'm happy where it is anyway. But I still would have probably put Swap 2 and 3 around on the record just for consistency with the record flow. But for a song, it's a really well-written song, commercially viable, of course, touching on what both of you are saying there. You know, the chorus, catchy, the melodies from a songwriting perspective are great. Sammy sings like softer in the choruses, softer, you know, in the verses, sorry, and he pushes where it's needed in the second parts of the verses and the choruses. Yeah, look, really nice bass playing as well. I put that down, and I'm going to bring that up a few times on this record with Michealanthony. I think he's like an unsung hero on this record. He really does shine through. Alex's signature drumming, his snare tone just pokes through all the time. It's fantastic. I really like Eddie's guitar sound on this. It's got that really resonant sound in some of it as well, like that really fat resonant sound. And I have to sort of touch on that. What you said, Andrew, the great solo and the runs he does with the volume swell section and that, like he's really good with that control stuff when he has to. Ed plays less, or you know, he was really good at doing that stuff. I won't sort of bang on about too much more because you guys have sort of touched most of my notes already. So I think
it's hard going last, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you've rated my notes, so I probably could have abbreviated a lot more what I've written here anyway. So. Look, I still reckon it would have been a better third song than a second song on the record, but as a song, I've given it an 8 out of 10, and I'd never skip it.
Right.
That's good.
Right okay, well, I guess the next song is Don't Tell Me, and I mentioned this was the first thing I heard. Before the album wasn't even out yet, the Don't Tell Me video. I saw the world premiere. And it knocked again, like Brad talked about previous episodes, record, pause, waiting. Here we go, debut, Don't Tell Me, record. And yeah, I think I probably ate that tape up right where I recorded this video because, yeah, it was goosebumps right away, which you guys know. When I say the word goosebumps, that means it's a 10 out of 10 for me. And actually, the video has a shortened, there's only one solo on the video version, and it's weird with me, like I always like the first version I hear of any of this stuff. Like I mentioned, like Ripley way back in the 80s, and Brad liked like Blood and Fire more than like with the lyrics more than Ripley, but for me, Don't Tell Me, I love the short solo he does on the video. And then I finally got the CD, and then there was like a second solo in the song at the end, and but it just hit me harder, the video, because it was just the shorter solo. But yeah, a huge riff, goosebumps, and again back to the bearing the cross like Jesus Christ. So again, we're touching into that Christian sort of religious vein, which was something, again, I guess someone mentioned it, I think Kurt in the chat mentioned Mine All Mine had something.
Got Jesus in the west, got Allah in the east. Christ, what's a man to do?
Yeah. So I guess Mine All Mine sort of had, maybe that was the first touch ever into that as far as Van Halen went. What did I say here? There's a bit of Ain't Talking About Love arpeggio that he hits. I've mentioned that a few times. in their songs. It's just sort of a standard thing that he does. Just to, what am I going to do in a verse? Okay, dun, 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 dun. Like he just does that sort of automatically. It's just part of his style. I love the background vocals when Michealanthony. It's just the word "I," and then Sammy's singing in behind him. I think it's that again is where a different kind of truth lacked for me. It's just when I hear Michealanthony come in, especially on this album, not so much on Van Halen 3. But definitely here, just because him and Sammyhagar are really, they are like brothers because they're together all the time, whether it's Chickenfoot or The Circle or like they and birthday bashes in Kabul that I've gone to, they're always around each other. And that camaraderie is something I missed when we go from Balance to current day. That was just something I always missed. I love the solo in the song. Of course, I'm talking about the video one. It gives me the goosebumps. And then that whole thing where he says, get down on my knees and pray. Again, it's just that religious message again. It's pretty cool. It's my favorite song on the album. I mean, yeah, that's the first listen through. For me, it almost could have started the album. I know you guys probably won't agree with that, but it actually could have for me, just because it's the first thing I ever heard of this. But yeah, it's all good. But Brad had mentioned it could have been Seventh Seal and then this. I think that's what I was getting at when Can't Stop Loving You. I think it could have been maybe the next song or the fourth one, just for me, like beginning, like listening to an album. It usually just works like that. It's sort of two rockin' songs, and then they start taking you on the journey. That's kind of what Brad was kind of getting at, probably. Second listen, I wrote Bear the Cross just like Jesus Christ again. Great vocal performance, great solo, goosebump riff. I love the ending of the song, and that was the thing I was going to mention. I'm glad we're bringing this up. I think I mentioned it before on one of our episodes, but when we did our Van Halen top 10, and I was mentioning at the concert, at the end of the song, Sammy would do a chant back and forth with the crowd, like crowd play. He'd go, hey, hey, hey. And then the crowd would go, hey, hey, hey. And Eddie's just, he sort of muffles the strings on his guitar and just, dan, 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 and just the interplay. And they went on for like, it seemed like half a minute or even a minute just doing that at the end of the song. And you can see it when, if you watch The Balance on YouTube, the show from Toronto, they do it at the end of the song. But the one I saw in Seattle was really long. They did it for a long time. And again, guys, it's a play. It's my favorite song on the album. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. And Seventh Seal is right in behind this, easily. As my two favorite tracks on this album. They seem to come with Van Halen. It always seems to come pretty near the beginning of the album. For me, the best songs are always near the beginning. But those two definitely are the number 1 and 2 for me. Andrew, go for it.
Look, I'm going to probably agree with everyone else in the chat and you guys too. It was the first song I heard on the radio. I remember hearing it at work, hearing that ding 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 ding, and then Sammy's vocals. When Sammy kicked in, you knew it was Van Halen. You didn't know it was Van Halen when you first heard that dun, 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 I'll be honest, I had no idea, but as soon as Sammy came in, I was floored. I was flipped. We never got that video here in New Zealand, so that's one thing that I want you guys in the chat and my co-hosts to remember. We're on the arse end of the world here in New Zealand, and we didn't get a lot of the videos that you guys got at the same time. It wasn't until years later where I saw the video, and that was obviously through the introduction of the internet and visiting Van Halen websites. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I love Sammy's vocals on it. That guitar introduction is like nothing else that Eddie's ever done. A tribute apparently to Kurt Cobain, who passed away the year previous. and also a reflection on the tone of the album. You know, Eddie's joked about the album being recorded all in D minor, but it's not really a joke actually when you think about it. You know, it's a dark album, but in that darkness, it's not despair or ugliness. It's just you know, different from the other Van Halen albums.
No, and just
before,
just before Brad talks about it, for me, that's the disappointment I have. Like you pound out a song like "Don't Tell Me" and "Seventh Seal," and just where the direction of the band could have been next, and like the legacy of it all, and then all of a sudden it breaks apart, and
then we get Van Halen 3.
I'll get into that before we're done. I have some things to say about that, but it's just that's where it's so disappointing for me. Like all of a sudden, you know, Garycherone's in the band, and I'm just sitting there going, like, how do you go from putting out? I mean, just those two songs for me, Seventh Seal, Don't Tell Me, are these huge, massive songs, and then you're just gonna let this band disband, that version of the band go? Like after you just you put this stuff out, like how do you let that go, regardless of, you know, fighting and who's drunk and who's not? It's just like, my God, you guys, like. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that's the reality, guys. You know, managers had passed away. They had a new management team. You know, Eddie was hiding his dependency. You know, and you know, whether or not you guys agree with what Sammy's written in his biography, he offers a first-hand account of his experiences. So we have to take Sammy at his word. You know, until, you know, the definitive Eddie Van Halen biography comes out, you know, it just makes you wonder, what could have happened. But you know, we can save that for later on. But certainly a 10 out of 10, and it's never a skip. And I get the what is it? What's the Steve Anderson effect? The goosebumps. You know, that intro is like nothing else Eddie's ever done.
Yeah, and
10 out of 10.
That thing you asked about, the goosebump thing. I mean, there's so much music out there in the world that doesn't do that to me at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I like music of any type, like jazz or classical. That's fine and everything, but the goosebump factor is a different category, and that's why we're sitting here talking about Van Halen, these records, right? It's because it does that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting here. For whatever reason, and anyone of any band that's a fan, I know people that love Coldplay. Like they yell at me to love Coldplay, and I'm sorry, I can't do it. I just it's fine. It's whatever you love, and that's great. And this is okay. Our opinion, right? So,
that's good, Steve.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh yeah. Brad, go ahead.
All right. Well, for me, this song, this touches on the darker vibe for Van Halen. For me, the first time I heard this was on the radio as well, and instantly it sort of was a complete change for me for Van Halen. They still sounded like Van Halen, but they were on more of a grunge era vibe. And I don't know if you guys picked it up, there's a slight, you can hear the influences of like bands like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden a bit in this song in particular. There's a couple of these little tinges through some of the other songs as well, but they still kept true to their sound and what was Van Halen as well. So it's not like they were trying to just jump on board and be a grunge band. They still were Van Halen, but they embraced a little bit of that era and what was going on. I think maybe it was more, it was accidental. They didn't really focus. It was just they were around it. It was current. They were listening to it, and maybe it just rubbed off on them a little bit. But
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting what you just said, Brad. I'm going to mention this to you guys if you think about it for a second. So I saw the Forunlawfulcarnalknowledge tour in Vancouver. Alice in Chains opened for the show. And Jerry Cantrell, the guitar player from Alice in Chains, and Eddie Van Halen became really close friends. And I remember Eddie saying to Jerry in an interview, he goes, oh, man, you got to show me that riff, the Man in the Box. Show me that riff. Dun, 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 dun. And you know what? Right there. Yeah. That is tinging on Don't Tell Me. That riff right there.
That's kind of like what I was alluding to. Even the chugs he does in the song. Like, gun, gun, gun. It's got that vibe. They're not trying to copy it, but it's obviously an influence at the time. So that.
Oh, totally, it is. Yeah.
And, so that was definitely in there. You know, I just put nice use of the muted arpeggios, like you've mentioned. I really love the drumming, and this is just slamming it solid straight. Alex just really owning this. The vocal melody is killer. The Sammy singing on it is great, like he's singing his guts out in it. The BV's great. I love the breakdown section, the halftime feel bit in the song, and Ed's guitar solo. At this particular time, like Carnal Knowledge in this record, he had that low end resonance thing going on in his sound, and that rumble without it being too woofy or whatever. Maybe it's slab, you know, too woofy in certain areas on a frequency, but it suited the music. It didn't cross over into that bass guitar frequency. There was still clarity between the two. And I've just put like a great outro solo as well, and I can hear Carnal Knowledge era in it as well. So for me, it's a 10 out of 10, and I would never skip it. But I do want to say, like, this whole record is a real dark horse for Van Halen, and it's got, you know, it's kind of like this album and the Carnal Knowledge one, which we're going to get to, where like Michealanthony shined on these two records, vocally and bass playing wise. It just held together. But yeah, for me, it's a 10 out of 10, and definitely not a skip.
Yeah, and that thing you said about Sammy's vocal performance. I mean, there's that big scream that he does, the word "oh," like right before the solo, like it's so high, and that's the thing that Eddie talked about with Sammy when he first had him in the studio for Dreams or 5150, the song, where he would scream at these high levels, and he definitely does it in Don't Tell Me, where that's a range that David Lee Roth can't get to. That's where Sammy soars over him, to me as a listener of the vocals. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned the drumming too, because this is one point that I want to just mention quickly before we get into the next song, Brad and Steve. Van Halen sounds like Van Halen when it comes to the guitaring, you know, and everything else on this album and on the previous album. One thing though that I did notice at the time, and I noticed listening in preparation for this show, is that the drumming is very modern. It's a very modern sound. If you listen to what a lot of the grunge drummers were doing at that time, it was very distinctive, that drumming sound, and the toms, you know, you could hear that clearly. And in the production of this album, they've certainly done that with Alex's drumming. You know, it was definitely a drum sound that was of the era.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. And also, I'm going to point this out, guys. The first three songs, Seventh Seal, Can't Stop Loving You, Don't Tell Me. There hasn't been any like the old school Van Halen sexual innuendo songs yet.
No.
So Seventh Seal and Don't Tell Me, they've been pretty heavy, right? Yeah. Yeah. So fourth song, Amsterdam. So right off the bat, anyone that doesn't know Van Halen, they, are from Holland over in Europe. So I guess I know they went. There's the video for Amsterdam, was filmed over there. So for me, yeah, huge riff, cool accent. I wrote. And for me, guys, my dad was born in Copenhagen, Denmark. Denmark's, there's Denmark, and then there's a bit of northern Germany, and then over to Holland. So it's not a bit of a connection for me. And I went to Europe when I was 18, right out of high school, and went to Amsterdam. So, certain titles of songs and might touch your life a little bit because you went there. So, yeah, I love the background vocals in this. I know Brad's touched on that, whether it's been the bass lines or for me, it's just Michealanthony's vocals. Really, really shine here. I don't have anything bad to say about the lyric "Wham Bam Amsterdam." I know It's been said in magazines, if you're gonna, hack the lyrics, don't blame Eddie. That was strictly Sammy had to come up with something. That's what he came up with. Maybe it was some guy, a vocalist, just hummed something, and then they go, "Oh, okay, what do I got to put in here to fill up?" But I've had some people say, "Oh, what a silly title, Wham Bam Amsterdam." But I don't have anything bad to say about that lyrically. But some people that I've met have said something about that. I love the solo in the song, and I love overall the rhythm guitar in the solo. It's definitely a play. Definitely 8 out of 10. I give it a B. It's not a Don't Tell Me or a Seventh Seal. But I definitely would play the song. I love the riff in the song. I love hearing it when I'm driving around in my car. So that was the first listen. Second time, I guess there's a line in the song where he says, "Score me some Panama Red." So that's probably some kind of marijuana, I imagine. I'm not a drug user here.
Apparently.
But I still remain at an 8 out of 10. It's a great song, and I play it. I play it for anyone. I think it's got a huge riff in it, and I don't have anything negative to say about it. I was just bringing up the title of the song thing because I have people have said that to me, that they didn't like that song because of the Wham Bam Amsterdam. Just hearing that, they kind of shut them off. I can understand that, but for me, it's like the riff's huge and the verses are great, the background vocals are great, the solo's great. I mean, how can you not like the song, right? So yeah. I'll leave it at that. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, look, I love the song. I love the riff, the riff is just awesome. But I'm going to be honest with you. When I first heard the song, I loved the music, and I remember thinking, Sammy, Wham Bam Amsterdam? I remember thinking at the time, and this is before the controversies between the David Lee Roth camps and, the flame wars on Facebook groups on internet. But I remember thinking, after being a Van Halen, Sammyhagar fan from the first album that they did, and not being critical of any of his lyrics, but I do remember thinking at the time, Wham Bam Amsterdam. Yeah. So I don't know what he would have put instead. Kind of bugs me, later on, that we start getting, reports from Eddie and Alex that they were really upset with the lyrics, later on, and poking fun. This is, clearly when Hagar and the Van Halens are at war, and fans like us were getting caught in the crossfire, I suppose, Do they have criticisms about the song, about some of the lyrics? Well, of course, but maybe they should have said something earlier on,
No, exactly.
in the studio, in the studio, and I know that Sammy doesn't mention that at all, because he says in his book, and if you guys haven't read Sammy's book, please do go and get it, because it's an important read if you're a Van Halen fan. But he says, the Van Halens weren't even interested in his lyrics. They didn't want to be, and he would try and talk to them. He would try and get them, and hey, and they'd run off. See you later, man.
Yeah,
we're out of here.
Eddie and Alex were definitely they're instrumentalists, right? They care about the music, what's being said. They never even had a comment about it, as far as what the lyrics are. Yeah.
But they did when the band went sour. So, I think we've got to put that into context too, because, yeah. But look,
because they have to have a reason to, complain or why it went bad. Oh, it was the lyrics. Well, that's just it's like a cop out to me.
Yeah. Look, never a skip. Love that riff. Love playing it. What did I've given it a Brad score. I've given it 8.5 out of 10.
Wow. So it's a B, but not quite an A. Yeah, because we went through an A was 86% was an A. Yeah. 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 Wow. Brad, what do you got?
All right, Amsterdam. Well, you know, without sort of retouching on everything you guys have said, I'll just bring up a couple of other little points. I love how the song starts off, how it goes, "Light 'em up," and then and the feel of the, you know, it's got that sort of classic riff and the feel of the intro, that drenched guitar tone. This song, the bass playing is really solid in this one. I love that classic drum feel that Alex puts on this one. I think the melody's great. It's got, and the harmonies are really rich. Like there's a real rich harmony there. The lead up to the solo, the bass and guitar following each other. I really love that bit. That's really musical, and that's a really important thing that's overlooked in Van Halen. Michael and Ed used to play together really well when they were doing lines together. They were locked in, and then they were like this when they needed to be, and then Michealanthony would just lay that foundation when he needed to. So I needed to bring that up because I thought that was really important. The riff under the solo, I actually think that could have been another song. I really liked it. It's like it's very Zeppelin, and the bass is sort of very cool as well. I really love that part. And you know, it's notably on this record, especially, like I know on Carnal Knowledge there's a couple on that, but this one in particular has got rhythm guitar under the solo, which I really like when Ed does that. He puts a rhythm guitar underneath the solo, and I like it when there's no solo, no rhythm under the solo as well. But in particular, this one, I like what he's playing there. I know Ed was always quoted as saying he thought the lyrics are tacky or whatever, but I mean, in the context of the song, what the song's about and the feel of the song, I think it was more of a fun vibe. It kind of loosened up the dark vibe. Maybe, you know, I mean, I'm a little bit more comfortable with the lyrics now than I was when I first heard it, but it's, you know, for me, I don't really have a problem with the lyrical content in this song. You know, the wham bam, thank you, you know, wham bam sort of thank you, man. That's how I see it. It's wham bam.
Yeah. So this for me was the song that they're going to that sexual innuendo. This is kind of this was the song. Yeah, and exactly what Brad said is what people miss out on. You're in Amsterdam.
That's Sammy channeling David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
I think just trying to loosen the vibe on the song, because it had that sort of the riff wasn't as dark on this song, so maybe he went for more of a lighter feel to the song and a little bit more fun. For me, it's an 8 out of 10, and I could go on for days about some of these songs, and this one in particular, I love that rhythm section under the solo. That it could almost be a complete song, like I said. So I love that bit. 8 out of 10, definitely not a skip for me. Yeah, I really like the track. I really like it.
Yeah. So we're all sort of on par with that one. Yeah. Right on. Yeah, guys. So next song, Big Fat Money. I would say with this one, I don't know what it is. I'm not the biggest fan of this vocal style. It sounds, I'll say it a couple times here, but it almost sounds like sort of like a demo they had sitting around, and they kind of did the album. Maybe, I don't know when this was put into the sequence of the song or the album. Maybe it was like an afterthought. Oh, wait, but we need something else. Put this in. That's what it sounds like to me. Like it's like just something they threw together last second, like a filler. It sounds like a filler demo song to me. I'll just read some other things I wrote. You know that song by Billy Joel called "We Didn't Start the Fire"? When he's just like throwing in these lyrics just for something to do. That's what it reminds me of. So I wouldn't. I definitely. So there's. I'll let him laugh. I'll let him laugh for a while. So this is the one song I wouldn't play for someone off of this record so far. We got Seven Seal. What's the next one? Can't Stop Loving You. Don't Tell Me. Amsterdam. Okay, now fifth song in. This is the one song that I wouldn't play for someone. And once we get through all this, I mean, this potentially is my skip. And until we get the rest of it, but generally, I mean, first listen through, I gave it a 6. So, okay, yeah, I'll play it. Sort of, I'm on the fence about it. Like, it almost could be a 5 for me. Like, because I could almost pass on it. I'll just read some other things. Again, like the song Tattoo for me, there's not really a defined riff here. Like I always say that when I listen to, I say that as we do these albums, like, and go through these songs, there's always, with Van Halen, there's always a riff, whether it's guitar or piano. Like, there's always something I walk away from the song that sort of sticks with me. And this one, like, when I think Big Fat Money, I only think of the lyrics. That's like Tattoo. I only think of the lyrics when I hear Tattoo. So that's interesting. So for me, yeah, sounds like a demo. Second listen, sounds like a demo. They could have, I said this is my last point about it. You know, they could have done something else with this song better than what they released here, from my perspective. Like, there were some parts there that could have been something, but again, it's like the cutting room floor stuff, it sounds like to me, and just, we got to throw something in. And I'm surprised it was like the 5th song on the album. I thought this would be like the 8th or 9th song. Like, we're just sort of throwing something in here. Yeah, I left it at a 6 out of 10, but that's pretty high, and I'm considering it to be a skip here. But yeah, it easily could be a 5, and on the fence about being a skip or not. So yeah, that's where I stand with this song. Yeah.
The only thing that I like about this song is the guitaring. That honky tonk kind of guitar sound that's going on. What I think's going on in this song is, I think Sammy is singing to the Van Halens. I've got this theory, the Beatles were singing to each other. I mentioned it early on, in some of their lyrics. They're singing about their relationships with each other, and it's backed up by other Beatle academics out there. And now, I'm not saying that we're Van Halen academics at all, but the Van Halens were trying to nudge Michael Anthony out, of his share. And I just think this could be Sammy's reply to the Van Halens. Money. Some say that money's bad.
And sorry, Andrew, just to point out, they played this song live when I saw them, and I just, like, it could have played anything else. That I was shocked that they played this live. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, and I agree with you. So interesting. We're at par, because I skipped it for a long time. Guys, when it was on my seat, I'd skip it. Potentially a skip. Yeah. I've got it at a 6 too.
The one thing I didn't. Yeah, the one thing I didn't mention, with the guitar that's going on, there is that piano happening, but it's just sort of the same chord that he's hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting, and it's just sort of, it just sounds busy and confused, and like a lot of the songs on A Different Kind of Truth that I didn't necessarily give a good rating on, like, or they just said the songs sound busy and sort of not going in any kind of direction. But yeah, okay. Brad, what do you got?
Big Fat Money. I like the little start bit, and that used to always get me, like the talking in the studio. I used to like those sort of things where they ask Alex, does he need the click? And he goes, I don't need no stinking click. I really like that. I like those quirky type things. I really like the way the guitar and vocal intro starts. The drums kick in. It's like the band's ready for action. The guitar in the verse, it's got, this song in particular has got like a Led Zepp rock and roll feel for me.
Oh yeah.
It's got that fun party vibe. It's got a cool bass line under the solo, if you have a listen to that. It's interesting to hear like Ed sort of exploring that cleaner solo, pan to the right thing with, in my listening, and the more I listen to it now and the more I'm focused on this, it's got a very Jimmy Page-ish vibe on the solo. If you have a listen, it's like maybe that's his. Maybe they were channeling that. I don't know whether they were listening to rock and roll and they thought, we've got a little tune like that, let's go. I don't know. The build up after the solo, the vocals. I did mention the piano in there. It gives it like that definite rock and roll Led Zepp vibe. You know, if you listen to rock and roll at the end, it's got that. It's got the same sort of thing on the piano. I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. And
Wow.
yeah, I would. It's borderline skip for me. It's
There you
borderline.
go. Okay, right on.
So before you get into the
Go
next
ahead,
song,
I'm gonna get a refill.
you get a refill. So Johnny Bean has just shared the stream on his Instagram channel. So yeah, thank you for that, Johnny. Appreciate that. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, Simon, Brad, and I, and the Rum Meister would appreciate that. If you haven't checked out Brad's channel, his website, there it is there. brad-cook.com. Check Brad out. He has all his social media accounts on that website, and check out his EP. You know, Brad's got some good music, some up-to-date music, and he's working on music. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll keep in touch with us and Brad and anything that he's got in store. Thank you.
Thanks.
Right on. Part 6 here is Strung Out. So as far as I know, guys, it's Eddie has opened one of his grand pianos and is throwing ping pong balls in there and guitar strings and packs of strings and knives and spoons through his guitar. And, you know, just instrumentally, you know, you got Eruption and Spanish Fly. Oh my God, I got to learn these. How do you play that? And Cathedral and the intro to Mean Street. And yeah, for me, it sounds like the intro to the next song, the second half of it to me. You know, I could pass. I mean, overall, it's anything Van Halen that's on vinyl or record or CD, whatever. I want to hear it. But for me, musically, there's nothing for me to learn here, which Van Halen, that's a big part of it for me is it whenever I hear Eddie Van Halen, even Love Walks In, something on a keyboard or piano, like I'll transpose it like and figure it out on guitar how to play it. Like I want to find, he inspires me to figure out how to play the song, or just to go, I need a guitar in my hands. If I'm walking down the street and I hear something like, oh my God, I got to get home, I got to get to a guitar. But I don't think that's the purpose of that here. He's just goofing around. He had it on tape. This is the kind of stuff that I have a fear about with the vault. That could be the vault stuff that's going to come out. This is the stuff that I have a fear about, is that it might be more sort of stuff like this. So definitely, it just sounds like an intro to Not Enough, something to throw in there. So for me, yeah, it hits sort of, you know, 5 out of 10. I mean, it's not even necessarily a musical piece necessarily. It's just a guy throwing a bunch of stuff at strings of a piano. So I mean, yeah, I could definitely pass it. That's what I said on my second listen to the album the other night. Yeah, I could definitely pass it, but I think it's just something to throw in before the next song. Yeah, but musically, and that's what it's all about. I mean, what is it doing for me? Well, I mean, I'm just listening to it as an Eddie Van Halen fan. I'm imagining him throwing a bunch of stuff into his piano. That's the end of it for me. So, yeah, I don't even know. It's hard to even know how to rate this or say anything. I just, it's Van Halen. It's on tape. It's a 5 out of 10 right off the bat, and it's not going anywhere further than that for me. But, you know, I could definitely pass it. There's big fat money in this back to back where I'm kind of like, you know, I could probably pass on these. If I'm ultimately, that's what the show is about. Okay, if I'm playing it in my car or in my house here, what would I hit the next track? Go to the next track, and yeah, this is definitely something I'd probably hit. Let's get going. Let's get to the next track. So, Yeah,
Yeah.
that's where I sit with it.
I think this song makes sense, and a couple of the guys in the chat are making that connection, Johnny, Ben and Bo Zeke. So this song or tune or whatever goes back to 1984 when Ed had about 10 of these other songs going on. So I think this is Eddie Van Halen having a very, very dry sense of humour. He's put this in here for fans to talk about 30, 40, 50 years later to see if we're going to make the connection to this song and Intruder on Diverdown, you know, that period where he was going through... Yeah. So do I. So do I. And I think that's the connection. This is Eddie's sense of humour. You know, he's put this in here directly for us to talk about today to make that connection. You know, because during that period, you know, he was, you know, thinking about whether or not he wanted to be in Van Halen at that time. You know, he was going through some ups and downs, and his relationship with David Lee Roth wasn't, you know, at its best, and you know, so instead of smacking someone in the face, he's throwing ping pong balls and into Yamaha pianos. You know.
Look, I get it, the humorous side of it, and doing that. I'm just saying, musically, I'm going like normally anything instrumental he does. I'm running to a guitar. I want to learn how to play it. It just sounds like filler.
I don't think he's put this in Stephen Bragg for it to be musical. I think it's just his state of mind and his sense of humor.
I get that. I'm just the purpose of the show is skip or play. And do I sit here and go, oh my God, I got to go put Strung Out on? No. It's not like when I'm listening to the ending tapping of Eruption. Okay, I got to mentally learn this and get it on my hands. And there's nothing.
It only makes sense that it's the song before Not Enough. It's a 6. It's a 6 out of 10 for me too. It's it's screeching, and you know, again, it's that D minor vibe that Van Halen's got going on.
You said it though. Was part of this was like Intruder. I mean, listening to that, I mean, right away, that's definitely a B to me. It's an 8 out of 10 right away. It could be an 8 out of 5, just like instrumentally, and the drum and the drums, the bass kicking in and everything. Like it is a song. Like musically, it's musically something. This isn't musically something.
No. I agree. It's ping pong balls and a grand piano.
Brad?
Well, it's even hard to rate this because I don't think it's meant to be rated.
I don't think it's meant to be rated, is it?
Finally.
I think it's like because it doesn't even go very long. It's like a bit of a interlude into the next song, and I think maybe there's a track break in it because they titled it something, but because for me it could have just very well easily been part of the next song. I don't even know how to give it a rating. I'm going to give it a 5 just because it's part of the next song to me.
You're echoing what I was getting at, and Johnny Bean, you know, says something here that he loves it and loves Ed's instrumentals, whatever it is. I get that. I guess for me, as a music listener, like I don't feel like I have to blindly love everything. Like I don't have to blindly love just because it's Eddie Van Halen. Oh my God, I have to love it all. It's just So this is one area where it's kind of like, you know, I could pass on that. You know, I would never say that about anything to do. Probably on any album before this, and this is the 10th album. Any album before this, I love all the instrumental stuff. Like nobody's business. Like nobody. They're all like 9 out of 10s for me. Okay, but this one, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
I mean, it's just like a quirky thing before the next song. That's how I see it.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. Yeah,
it's not a written piece of music. It's like, oh, you know, it's like studio chatter. Like there's certain bands that put in little, 20-second bit before a song, and it could be just, background noise or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden the song kicks in and it goes to the next track, and that's the next. That's how I see it.
There is a part of the end of it where it does kind of lead into the next song, which is
Yeah.
not enough. We might as well get onto it because I'm getting tired of talking about strung up. Not enough, yeah. So beautiful piano. Again, not necessarily a song for the girls, but it's definitely it's the next level above that. This isn't "Can't Stop Loving You." This is amazing songwriting. I think I know it was a video, and it definitely. I don't know if it was. I mean, I think it maybe a lot of people missed out on this song. I think it's a song you could play for anyone. For me, guys, the big moment in this was they played live on David Letterman. Late Late with David Letterman. Van Halen played this song. You can look it up probably on YouTube. It's probably there. But for me, it's the Brad Cook thing. Like I'm sitting at home, record, pause. Okay, it's late night, the late show with David Letterman. I record that, and Dave comes out. Okay, pause. Oh wait. Oh my God. What's that?
That's exactly what I did on David Letterman back then.
Yeah, I did it anytime Van Halen was doing anything on TV beforehand, right? But yeah, and it was an amazing performance of that song if you see it. And there's a part, I think they come back from commercial or something, when they were doing the song Jump. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I remember David Letterman saying to Eddie, look at all the equipment here, because he had his piano there and then his guitar and amps and everything, and the solo's amazing. Like if that doesn't give you goosebumps a little bit, something's wrong with you, as far as I'm concerned. So for me, it's a step up from "Can't Stop Loving You," because "Can't Stop Loving You" for me is, and you guys said it, it's like commercially sort of available as a listener on radio. For me, it's commercial ready, and this is kind of a step up as far as a song goes and songwriting goes. For me, it's sort of epic and a bit more meaningful to me when I listen to it. That was the first lesson. Yeah, I mean, just as a song as a whole, it's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's an A, just songwriting wise, piano wise, and solo wise. I loved Eddie's tone on this. It's away from that clean sound. You know, he's playing his Ernie ball and it's cranked up. It's a great solo. Second time through, beautiful piano, great songwriting. And again, it's that category again, unfortunately for the old Van Halen fans, back to that thing where they don't like it when sammyhagar sings sensitive stuff. That's when the old Van Halen fans, they're ready on the internet to start digging. And this is one of the songs they dig at. But for me, I think songwriting wise and overall, it's a beautiful song. And those people, it's like, I can't say that, but yeah, it's just sort of beyond, it's beyond the David Lee Roth year stuff. For me, it's a step up from that, songwriting wise. Yeah, anyway, I think it's a great love song at the end of the day, and I'm giving it 9 out of 10. Yeah, that's it. Andrew?
I appreciate that, Steve. Look, I think it's a masterpiece of a song. It's a sophisticated song, and you know, again, I don't want to upset any of the David Lee Roth fans who might be watching this or the rerun, but yeah, it's a sophisticated song, and it just shows where this band could have gone had they stuck together. You know, you've got that beautiful piano introduction, and you've got Sammy singing well. The lyrics make sense. I love the song. You guys have to remember that back here in the mid 1990s in New Zealand, we only had three TV channels, so we didn't get Letterman or anything like that. So you guys were lucky to watch all this stuff as it was unfolding. I didn't get to see the David Letterman video until years later, and for me it's an interesting thing because we see the crossover from Eddie playing music Music Man guitars, the Ernieballmusicman, and then we see on that video on the David Letterman show with the purple peaveywolfgang. So another turning point, another historic point in the history of Van Halen, from one brilliant guitar to another guitar on Eddie's journey. Love the song. It's a masterpiece. A 10 out of 10.
And Andrew, before you go on, I'm going to do a bit of Dr. Alan Garber to you. I know that Eddie's guitar in that show was red with a black headstock.
Okay, yeah. Red. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, I've got grey hair. You're right. It was red. Sorry, okay. It wasn't purple. Thank you for that. But I love the song, and it's a song that I'd play to anybody as a good example of a delicate song that's sophisticated. Well done, Van Halen.
Well done, Andrew. Well, for me, not enough. It's as a songwriter, you only imagine or dream of writing a song with this much depth and meaning. So for me, this song, like the piano, sets the mood from the very word. This song was probably written on a piano, I'd say.
Oh yeah.
From the start of the song all the way through, it keeps the same emotive feel all the way through it. So for me, songwriting, this was, I love Van Halen touching this territory. I love them touching the party vibe territory as well. But this deep and meaningful stuff and soulful lyrical content, this is where Van Halen shined for me. Sammy's vocal, this is his standout vocal song on the record for me. It's a real soulful, rich vocal, lyrically beautiful. The melodies are beautiful, like the vocal melodies are beautiful, with a real classic sort of Van Halen backing vocal sort of spots, where the backing vocals are, brings in that classic Van Halen sort of BVs. The bass playing, no one's really touched on that again. The bass playing in this song is fantastic. It's borderline just doing what's needed for the song, which is what Michealanthony was fantastic at doing. And he obviously chops to do more. I think he's very underrated. Like Carnal Knowledge in this record, he shined. His BVs were amazing. Yep. The drums on this, they come in. When the drums come in, it takes that power. He's holding it. The bass and drums are in the pocket. This song gives me goosebumps. It's a beautiful song. I love Eddie's guitar playing on it. At times in the guitar solo, I'm hearing little tinges of like even Joe Perry, like off Pump Record or something like that. A little bit of Jimmy Page in there as well. I look, for me, this song's like a 12 out of 10. 14 for me. I love this style of Van Halen music, and the lyrical content is deep. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me. Never skip. It's probably my favorite track on the record.
Wow. Yeah, and actually Johnny Bean said something interesting here. He said the piano tunes are what make Van Hagar special. It was something that David Lee Roth didn't have to offer vocally with the original band. This is a step up. And I remember when 5150 came out, I remember people talking about the song Dreams and Love Walks In. It was just a different level of lyrically speaking. And that's what this song is to me. It relates. There's always a couple songs like that on all these records with Sammy Hagar, where it kind of puts it to, like, it's gonna be different because it's a different singer, right? And that's what Sammy has to offer, rather than singing about girls or partying. Okay, then like he gets to these songs that are sort of epic, you know what I mean? Like that David Lee Roth, that's not his stick, right? Yeah, he's kind of got that sly attitude all the time, so he can't offer this sensibility, I guess I'd say, I'm trying to find the right word. Maybe it is sensibility about it. But yeah,
it just shows the maturity of the band when they can write a song like this, and obviously the collaboration with Sammy involved as a great songwriter. That shows the maturity that they stepped up a notch, which songwriting wise, not necessarily better or worse, but they just became more focused on writing songs with Sammy. And this is a perfect example, in my opinion, of the maturity level of songwriting that they went to. And even Ed's guitar playing was, for the song, not to show off. It was his guitar playing throughout the solo. You couldn't have put a better guitar solo in that song. He could have played more notes, he could have played more, but he just played from. I could just picture Ed playing his head back in that solo, recording it.
Yeah,
isn't there something? There's something in rock and roll, isn't there? With bands that are going through difficult points in their history when they're recording an album. The Beatles with Abbey Road. They were going through some difficulties, and they managed to put that aside to give us that album. We're all well aware of what was happening with Fleetwood Mac when they were recording Rumours. And it's just one of the things about, Van Halen that we didn't know at the time that we know now, that despite what was going on in the band, Steve and Brad, despite that, they produce a song like Not Enough.
Yeah, and I said it earlier, like Seventh Seal and Don't Tell Me. I'm like, how can a band put out these tracks and then all of a sudden that's it, I'm out, I'm gone.
A year later, it was only a year later or something, or a year after the tour, he's out, he's gone.
Yeah, Andrew, and just back to what guitar he was playing on David Letterman. I think it was a Peavey guitar, red with a black headstock. I don't think it was an Ernie Ball. I think he was making the transition into Peavey guitars
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. So he went from recording that album using a Music Man.
Yeah.
And then we saw the introduction on that Letterman show the first time, him playing the Peavey. So
right.
yeah. So if I didn't make that connection explicit earlier, definitely. We saw
it was Peavey, but you thought it was a purple guitar. But I know.
Yeah.
Just because I used to watch the thing all the time, it was red. Yeah, and I'm just thinking. I was just had a train of thought about something, but it'll come back to me. Brad, has Brad talked about this one? Not enough. Yeah. Hey, what are we at?
12 and a half. 12 and a half out of 10. No. 12 out of 10.
Yeah. Next song, guys. 8th song is Aftershock, and for me, Aftershock. There was a show. It's called the Jon Stewart Show. So Van Halen played on a show called the Jon Stewart Show, and they played this song, Aftershock. And this I wrote. First thing I wrote on this, I went to the second page. So this is the start of my second page. So here's the first. Here's the back of the first, and here it is. This is the first time because Brad has infiltrated my brain. Because I felt like I was not saying enough during the songs because Brad would go into the drums and bass and solos and parts, and I didn't feel like I was saying enough. Sounds like a tricky riff. Again, I say it so many times, sort of ain't talking about Lovish. But I love the Sammy and Mikey vocal parts on this song. And it seems like Eddie holds back a bit in this song and lets the other guys do their thing. It sounds like to me in the verses in this song a bit. I think it's a cool solo. It's definitely a play, Aftershock, for me. It's not the goosebumps of like Don't Tell Me or Seventh Seal. It's a rock song. It's cool. But as I do listen to it more, it was like that song, I think Big River, off of Different Kind of Truth. The more I listen to it, the more I kind of like it. That's like Aftershock. When I listen to, definitely after the solo, the ending of the song, I like it more when I was listening to it. And so right away, I mean, definitely it's a play, 7 out of 10. Can I give it an 8 into a sort of a B category? Maybe. But yeah, it doesn't have the goosebump factor for me. I guess Brad's probably going to get into lyrically what it all means. I guess that's the thing about it. When I listen to it, what's the aftershock? I don't even, I'm being honest, like I don't even know like how to think about the lyrics. What are we singing about here? I guess that's why I have a disconnect with it. Just when I just listen to it, I think of the, like Tattoo, I think of the song title, and I don't think much else about it. And I just wrote down the second listen through. I remember seeing it on the Jon Stewart show. But yeah, other than that, yeah, it's a play. I'll leave it at that, 7 out of 10 or 7.5 even for Brad, the half point. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't give me the goosebump factor. And I know I probably Amsterdam, I gave an 8, I imagine. I think we were all around that with Amsterdam. Yeah, because I like Amsterdam more than I like this song. Like if I was going to play, am I going to play Amsterdam for someone or am I going to Aftershock? I'm going to play Amsterdam. I don't care about the Wham Bam Amsterdam lyric. I think it's sort of funny. And the Wham Bam, thank you, man. But yeah, Aftershock, good rock song. And again, I like the solo, and I definitely like the ending of the song. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Andrew, go ahead.
Yeah, look, I love the song. I love the riff. I see it as this. I'm glad you made the connection between that and Amsterdam, because I see some, dovetailing going on there. Love the riff. Love the riff. What's really interesting, if you guys haven't checked out the collection of Van Halen articles that Guitar World have put together in a couple of different editions of books, but in '95, Eddie told people that it was the super lead, his famous Marshall super lead that he recorded this song on. So as opposed to his Peaveys, because he wanted a cleaner tone. For the life of me, I can't tell the difference between. But yeah, so obviously Eddie Van Halen can.
Sure.
But look, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. It's never a skip, Steve and Brad. It's never a skip. Good party. I think Bo Zeke in the chat mentioned it. He said it's a great song. It's a filler, but a great song. And Aftershock is a filler tune, but a damn good one. Yeah. So it's 8 out of 10 for me. Love the riff.
Right on.
For me, Aftershock, I love. I don't know. I'm listening to it maybe from a slightly different perspective. Maybe I'm hearing Ed playing.
That's why we're here.
Yep, I'm listening to it. I can hear the I don't know. I think it's a tap harmonic thing he's starting off with the arpeggio, and then it goes into the arpeggiated chords with the phaser. It's just something that he didn't really touch on this record until now. The phase pedal is something that I thought he is bringing in, maybe touching on his old tone a little bit. I love Alex's drumming in this song. He's slamming at home. The snare sounds like an axe chopping down a tree to me. It's just phenomenal snare sound. Nice moving bass lines. I love the resonance in the guitar has. Look, I'm with you, Andrew. I can't really tell whether it's a Marshall or a Peavey. Maybe there's tracking. Maybe he mic'd both. And there's maybe some people who have more technical knowledge on this record might be able to sort of work that out or let us know about that. But if you did use the Marshall, I can definitely hear that Peavey 5150 sort of sound on it. It's got a real resonance. What have I put here? The bridge leads into a solo, like without any sort of rhythm guitars, and I absolutely love it when Ed goes to the neck pickup. Like when he plays on that neck pickup on the guitar, it's something that he does so well. When he gets that neck pickup, he just plays like a monster on it, like a beast. I love the tone. Alex stands out on this one for me. And and I made this note here, which I've mentioned before. If they used this drum sound and power and mix on Van Halen 3, what would the outcome have been? Maybe the songs would have been better. I mean, look, listen to Fire in the Hole, and then listen to this. The drums are just owning this song. I love the outro solo bit as well, like the outro arpeggiated guitars. What are we showing here, Andrew? The guitar.
Yeah, I was just doing that too.
Isn't he cool? Isn't he cool? Isn't that an awesome song? Sorry to interrupt, brother. Sorry to interrupt.
Right.
Yeah, here it is here too, Andrew. I got it right here in this book.
On.
Yeah, it's this one here.
Hold it up a little bit closer to the light, Steve.
Sorry, hold on.
Oh, yeah. So that's his prototype.
Yeah.
It's red. Yeah. Okay.
It's okay.
So that was the first time we saw that guitar, and yeah, fantastic. Good to see some guitar nerds nerding out on guitars on a Van Halen show. That's fantastic.
Oh, part of it. It is.
I don't know if anyone can clarify, what amps he used, especially on this song, but I'm still hearing a 5150 vibe. So maybe double tracked or mic 2 cabinets up, one 5150, one Marshall. I don't know, but I mean this song for me.
Yeah, according to Eddie, if we take him at his word, but there again, he's said a lot of things, hasn't he, over the years?
Oh, yeah.
That's he said it's a Marshall, but jeepers, guys, maybe Johnny in the chat or Kurt in the chat, who in themselves are Van Halen nuts, might be able to confirm that. But yeah, I agree with you. I can't hear a distinction between that and the other tracks. So. Who knows?
Well, I gave this song a 9 out of 10 because I really dig it.
Yeah.
And I think Alex stands out on this one to me, this track. And I like those arpeggiated chords with the phase. And look, to me, it's a great song. It's not a filler to me, so I'll give it 9 out of 10.
Cool. The highest rating for Aftershock. Wow. It's an A. That's an A. So next track, instrumental, Doing Time, drum solo. So different drum sounds. He played this live, guys, with I look at this as two different parts. There's the beginning part where he's playing to a track, and he did that live. But I like Alex the best is the second half of this where he gets into the jungle drums. And I know we talk about, I've said like everybody wants some. Is one of my favorite old Van Halen song is when he does this jungle drum rhythm. I love it. I could listen to it all day. And it definitely live when he played this, when he gets out of, he did the same thing where he played to a track for a very long time. And then once the track was gone and he'd go into the jungle drums and all these fills, it was just like amazing. I like it when he would go. That's why I like the second half of this more than the first half. That part of it could have been longer for me. I'd rather just hear not the track stuff, but the second half of this, just the whole thing is the second half. So for me, yeah, whether it's Eddie or in this case, it's Alex with a solo on a record, I guess this would kind of be the first time. We had Alex here on the 10th record doing a solo thing. That's super cool. Definitely a play. First listen, 7 out of 10. It's just the second half of it. When you get into those jungle drums, man, I love it. I'd like to hear more of that. So that's why, I hear something like this, and then I got to go watch one of the live concert drum solos when he does this stuff that I really love it. So yeah, definitely second listen. I had to bump it up and give it a Brad 7.5 out of 10. Just because the second half, I'd give it 8.5 if he wasn't playing to the track in the first half of it. I wish it was more of give me like a drum solo that's the jungle drums and send me on a journey with that. for like 4 or 5 minutes. That'd be amazing. And that could still happen, by the way. Yeah, but yeah, that's where I stand with it. I'll give it 7.5. It's a C plus. That's good for me. It just lacks a bit because again, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but just the first half where he's playing to the track, I could probably do without that, because I see these guys as like a live band, and just give it to me live. Don't play to any track or anything. So that was a bit of a letdown for me, but whatever. I'll leave it at 7.5. Andrew?
Steve, I've given an 8 out of 10 because it's Alex's opportunity to shine. I love it, and I'm not necessarily a fan of drum solos, but again, Steve, I just want to reiterate the point that you made earlier at the top of the show. What could have happened to this band had they stayed together? They had enough songs. And this is why I'm really hopeful about Wolfgang and what he can do with the material in the vaults and what they could present to us, because, Bruce said to them when they were recording or in the processes of recording this album, do you guys want to do a double album? Because they had 10 songs, they've cut 10 songs, that they could have recorded at the same time. So I'm thinking, when you think about epic drum solos, you think of Led Zeppelin, and you think, maybe the next album that they did, they could have done a, an 8-minute song or something, with a drum solo in it. Maybe this is where Van Halen's going. But, we didn't get it. So.
Yeah, but, you touched on a few interesting things there. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, is it a skip? No. I'm happy. I'm happy to play it. As it leads into the next song. I love it.
Yeah. Brad?
Well, for me, it's definitely Alex's time to be showcased, which is something that we, like you guys have touched on, never really heard on a record before, other than on the actual song. You know what I mean? For me, look, I have to agree with you guys at the start of it, maybe with those looped drums that he's playing along to. And I think I mentioned this in the Van Halen 3 one as well, when they had some of those drum loopy things going on. It just kind of gives it that Phil Collins vibe to me, and I'm not a big fan of that. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just didn't really. I hear Phil Collins when I hear those drummy loop sort of things, but amazing drumming. Alex is still one of my all-time favorite drummers, and I've given it a 7, strictly and only because once that second half kicks in, it's monstrous, and into the next track as well. I kind of saw these, like this track and the next one, sort of like one song to me. It's like a musical journey. Obviously, they've broken it up because this is the way you do on records, but it's like the first part of what's to come for the next song. And if you listen to obviously on the CD, if you let the song play through, the next song automatically comes straight in. There's no 1 or 2 second sort of break before the song. So yeah, that's me. I'll give it a 7 out of 10, and I won't touch on it more than you guys have already done. So.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so song 10. Sorry if I apologize if I'm saying it wrong, but Baluchitherium, would that be correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good enough. Yeah, instrumental, big drums, cool riff. I love how dirty the riff is in this song. I like the heavy rhythm riff in the song. And of course, lots of elephant sounds with this guitar, with Eddie's guitar. He loves doing his, whether it's horse sounds or the elephant sound. And but there's lots of that in this. It's definitely a play for me. So again, it's a step up from Doing Time for me, just because of that. So right off first listen, 8 out of 10. It's a B. It's a play. Second time around, I love the riff, love the drums, the elephant sounds. Yeah, I could listen to this song on a musical journey for a good hour, easy. I like. It's a good one to listen over and over again to see if you might hear different things each time that you listen to it, especially the second half of it. But yeah, it reminds me of, there was that song Pleasure Dome off of For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which did have lyrics in it, but I know that was, I'll say it when we get to that album, but that was considered Alex's song, Pleasure Dome. But so this is definitely, yeah, the guy's instrumentally sounding great. I love the heavy riff in this. And just the tone of Eddie's guitar when he plays the sort of solo parts in this song, it's pretty huge and epic and yeah, interesting. And we'll say it a lot of times with this album, like what could have been for the next album from these guys with sammyhagar, but that didn't happen. So yeah, it's definitely a play. First time through, I give it 8, and the next time, like I liked it more, especially the heavy riff in that. So I get it 8.5. So yeah, just a step up from doing time. I mean, because Eddie's in there playing this huge riff and the sounds and the elephant sounds. It's so this is a cool instrumental journey. This song, and I actually can't wait to listen to it again. But I guess as of tomorrow, we're gonna be listening to the next album. So yeah, gotta move on. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting song, isn't it? It's and again, I think you know, it helps when we get some information from the guys, and then we go back and renegotiate these songs. You know, it was a song that, you know, Sammy was apparently having difficulty finding lyrics to, and so Bruce sort of said, you know, well, okay, well, shall we just, you know, keep it as an instrumental? So they, you know, Sammy left the studio early that day, you know, and, you know, left it up to the rest of the band. You know, be interesting to sort of kind of think, you know, now this is where you guys in the chat and Steve and Brad, Simon's a co-host on another show that we do, guys, so forgive me.
Hey, you've called me Simon before, okay?
Yeah. So this is what you guys have to do if you want to be a sammyhagar. Go and write some lyrics to the song and see how you go. Yeah, it's an interesting song. It's an 8. It's an 8 out of 10 for me. Yeah, and look, it's just a musical interlude, I think, and just, yeah, interesting.
It's just the sound of the drums and the rhythm of the song I really like you're saying, if Sammy could have figured out something, what's he going to sing about? He's going to sing about dinosaurs? Okay, well, you know, I don't think so, guys. Just do your thing. It sounds cool. Let's put it out. So that this is where this is okay for me. But something like Doing Time, we can pass on that. Yeah. But yeah. Brad?
This one for me, I'm really hopeful that we hear more songs like this in the future from unreleased stuff. Because we know that sort of Ed and Alex were heavily in 5150 a lot, putting things together. Hopefully there's more stuff like this floating around in the vault, whether it's instrumentally or not. I really love this. I remember the first time I heard this, I was thinking this could have been, if Ed was ever to do a guitar record like, there's not Van Halen, just called Eddie Van Halen, this would be what I would picture Eddie Van Halen's solo record would be, instrumental like that. That's how I pictured it. And it was, you know, I mean, you listen to it, I mean, the way the cymbal starts, the splashy cymbal into the bass line, it's really slamming bass line. It's got that even tried sort of harmonizing guitar melody, lifts and dips. Like, there's really nice double guitar playing on it. This is a really good example of when Ed uses his whammy bar for expression in melodies. Like, you know, where guitar players like Clapton would bend a note and they use vibratos and stuff, where he would use the bar. So this song really highlights that for me. The outro is really dark, and I put with his signature elephant, horse, and zoo sounds. You know, it's got the birds and everything like that. So it's got, to me, it's a expression type thing. I really hope that we hear more stuff like this, of this quality, floating around in the vaults there. And I gave it an 8 out of 10. Definitely wouldn't skip it. But I mean, I love Van Halen with singing on it, but this is, you know, this is.
That's an interesting thing you said, Brad, was because you remember I show like the wildlife soundtrack stuff. It was kind of like, it wasn't Alex Van Halen on drums, right? So that'd be cool to. That's the thing that's kind of lacking. Where his drum sound here, I really like. And you probably mentioned like this in For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, how the drums are so big. I mean, again, it's back to this Andy Johns, who, you know, was, you know, had to record John Bonham for Led Zeppelin 4 with When the Levee Breaks, right? So, yeah, but to have the crack of Alex's drums here with Eddie's, you know, instrumental stuff, that's the thing that the wildlife stuff is kind of missing a little bit. Oh, there you go. Where did you find that, sir?
So that was just sent. That was sent in the Johnny Bean Discord to me by Kurt, who's watching the show. So you're right, Steve. You can see it's translucent red, and he's put red there at the top of the notch on the headstock. So yeah, translucent red. So it's not purple. It's not maroon. You are right. It's translucent red. Thank you. Thanks, Kurt.
It was just an opinion. In my opinion, I'd call that red.
Well, you've got that picture in front of you where it says red. I always thought it was purple. So
is that I'll find a purple guitar and I'll show you what purple is.
Well, I know what purple is, but I'm talking about in relation to the guitar on the bloody Letterman show. It looks like purple.
This is purple down here.
Oh, that's yeah. I'm familiar with that purple one, and the two neck and the double neck as well that he had. All right, it's red.
Wow. Okay. So where are we, boys? We're on to another. Song 11. Take Me Back, Deja Vu. Yes, Deja Vu. And did you know that there's an Iron Maiden song called Deja Vu from the 80s? Yeah. That would be off the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son album, Deja Vu, I think. Anyway, acoustic intro. That's cool. There's a lyric. It says a deserted island off Morocco. So that sets the scene of this song. And I always write this. Obviously radio friendly. Sammy Hagar knows what to do to make a radio friendly song. Listenable to everyone. Bit of a different flavor. Love the chorus. I love the muffled chords that are played in this song. When he goes, take me back, dun, 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 where he's just muffling the strings, right? Where he does that in Don't Tell Me as well, but different style, sort of. A good songwriting again. It's you guys used the word earlier with Can't Stop Loving You is sort of mainstream. Like, you know, he's playing to, it's just obvious he's sort of playing to anyone and everyone here, right? That was the first listen through. I mean, definitely a play, and I got to give it more than just a 7. So yeah, definitely 7.5, leaning to an 8, just songwriting wise. It reminds me of a song Eddie Money did in the 80s called I Want to Go Back. To hear it, take me back. I want to go back. I think Eddie Money's lyric was, I want to go back and do it all over again. That's kind of what this is kind of about. Take me back, deja vu. You're doing something you might have done before. Second listen, it's just love the muffled riff breaks in the song. So I guess 7.5. I guess I'm gonna leave it at, because I always want the goosebump factor, but only Don't Tell Me and Seventh Seal are gonna do that here so far. So I'll leave it at that, 7.5. Andrew?
Guys, when I first heard the song, I loved it, because it was an interesting song, it was, that acoustic sound, we heard Eddie doing some acoustic stuff, and, then we got to see a bit of it with Eagles Fly with Sammy on the DVD. So, I kind of liked it for a long time, but skipped it for a long time because, yeah, I just couldn't connect with it for a long time. But guess what? Father Time is one of those interesting little things, and Father Time likes to sort of present you with songs where you can sort of think of "Take Me Back."
Oh yeah,
I want to be there with. So look, from that point of view, and we were talking about an album that came out 30 years ago. That's a
what?
Jeepers, and Brad and Simon, Steve, sorry,
okay,
and everyone else in the chat,
by the way, not 30.
who bought this album 30 years ago, pinch yourself, because we're all 30 years older.
25 years ago.
25 years ago. Yeah, okay. So still, a long time ago. Look, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. I love the song because it's different. I love the acoustic aspect. Sammy is singing brilliantly. I don't skip it anymore. And that's correct. It's a Don. It's a Mauser guitar that he got from some famous guy called Norm's Rare Guitars in LA.
Cool.
Well, my take on the song is going to be a bit deja vu-ish because it's going to be very similar to Andrew's. I used to skip it a bit. Obviously, I really like the song. I mean, maybe it's because I've just gotten more mature and I like well-written songs now. And I'm searching for things differently in music than I was 25 years ago.
Sure.
I dig it.
So for me now, I mean, I love the acoustic vibe, obviously. Sammy's voice on this one just sounds amazing. He's just, I know that he really touched where he had to go vocally. The melody is beautiful, and melodies and harmonies, and the vocal melody is just as important as the lyrical content to me. And I love the melodies. I love that chug. I love that thing. The harmonies. What can you say about Van Halen? Their harmonies are just, they're like Beatles of the modern day era of harmonies. They're just so good.
Beautiful.
The drums, Alex is just such tasty drum rolls. And I found the guitar solo, again, Eddie playing more for the song than trying to be quirky or whatever. His solo is more vocal, like it's like a melody, like a vocal melody. Beautiful outro, dissonant notes, paddling single notes. For me, it's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah. So
wow.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. 9 out of 10. This is the Don Musser guitar right here that we're talking about. The acoustic that he played for this song, right here.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks.
Did those Japanese dudes fly over to Eddie's mansion and stay with him and photograph all his guitars? Or
it's a different ball game, Andrew. A lot of bands give more access to foreign countries, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, Japan. It's just a different media entertainment industry, let's say.
Did you hear that, Brad? There's opportunities for us. We're both from Australia and New Zealand. There's opportunities, brother.
You guys are loved, like flat out, bottom line, no problem. Come on over. Oh, me too.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next show live at Vancouver Island.
You're going to be sitting right here.
I'll be sitting right, yeah.
Actually, you'll sit here and I'll sit there. On the burgundy couches. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Kurt. Kurt, he's awesome, from Seattle. We got to hook up sometime.
Oh, we got to get that. Kurt's got to jump on with us. Kurt, you got to. You got it. In 2 weeks' time, you got to jump on.
Yeah, the border's still shut down. I can't get down to the U.S. right now, but yeah, right on. So what are we at? Last track, boys. Feelin', which my buddy from high school, they played this live, the song Feelin', when I saw them, and my buddy from high school who loved this song, and he was a big fan of the song Mine All Mine off of OU812. Which is great when you have, that's what this is about actually, is people loving different songs. But anyway, for me, clean guitar, music suits the title is what I wrote with this for some reason.
Yep.
But for me, it's just when I listen to it, it's missing some kind of guts to it in a Van Halen way. If you know, I don't know if I'm explaining that right. In the song, I actually wrote this embarrassingly, but I gotta write what I wrote or say what I wrote. It's just a little bit sort of boring for me when I'm listening to it. When I'm just no. I mean, I have to say what I wrote, right?
Yeah.
No, just compared to like this other stuff that's like epic and huge, and I'm kind of going, yeah. So anyway, it's a play, but it's not real exciting for me. I guess that's what I mean when I'm not boring, but like the excitement factor. It's not grabbing me, and it's not. There's no goosebumps. It's like levels, right? There's goosebumps. There's exciting, and then there's it's just not really exciting for me. But there's this part in the song when it changes and Eddie's riffing, he starts to get going on this different thing. It sounds like a different song all of a sudden, and it kind of saves the song actually. That's what I wrote here. So it could have been a different song, but then it goes back to what it was kind of, I guess the word would be subdued. It's sort of, I don't know if that's the right word for it. And then it hits this thing for me where, not like Big Fat Money, but it almost sounds sort of demo-ish to me. And it's kind of something they're throwing in there. But there was definitely that part where Ed starts this riffing, where it saved the song. That should have been something on its own. That's what Brad mentions a few times. I think we said that with the Lethal Weapon song. What was the song called? Off of Van Halen 3?
Fire in the Hole. But this is
Fire in the Hole.
Yeah.
It has that riff at the end where you go, oh my God, listen to that. Like it could have been off of Fair Warning or something, that riff, right? And then that's the same here. There's this riff he goes into, but then it stops and it goes back to the regular vibe of the song. It just doesn't get me excited. I get it. I get what Sammy's trying to get at with it lyrically. But for me, yeah, it's like, first listen, it's like a 6 out of 10. Like, I wouldn't play this song. I know I use that every time we cover these songs at these albums, but like, I wouldn't play this for someone. I'd be playing, like, okay, anybody, I'd be playing Not Enough. Like anybody can listen to that and would go, okay, like songwriting wise, lyrically, the piano is great, the solo is awesome, the tone of the guitar is amazing, and Not Enough. Like, that's what I'd play for somebody. But this here, it's more of an experimental, and something that would go on like Van Halen 3 to me. That's what I sort of compare this to. And yeah, I don't know about you guys. When you think about an album beginning to end, like for this to be the last song, the last message I want to hear from Van Halen with Sammy Hagar on their last studio album, I mean, I think Take Me Back should have been the last song when I listened to this. Overall, I think that Take Me Back should have been the last song on the album. But
we get it. You don't like it.
No. It's like Brad. You look at this album. Okay, what am I going to give it 10? Okay, don't tell me. It's 17 right behind that for me. I liked Amsterdam. Not Enough is epic. We know that. I'd play that for anyone to listen to this. and we got the cool instrumental with the dinosaur song. Take Me Back. Yeah, it's cool. I'd put Take Me Back as the last song on this record, I think. And yeah, Feeling. I mean, my friend, one of my best friends on the planet, loves this song, and that's fine. It's my own opinion. Like, I could give it a 6 at the most. I could give it a 6. I could play it actually, and I could not. So I'm kind of on the fence. And you guys like this way more than me, so I'm going to shut up now. Go ahead.
You go and get a refill. Go and get a refill. Look, it's another minor key song, isn't it? I think Sammy sings unlike he's sung on any of the songs on the album. It's a vocal performance that I think he's hit out of the park. I love the fact that they've brought strings in. Again, it's a hint, and and it's with tears in my eye when I listen to this song. That it's that constant theme, and we've said it before. What this band could have achieved had they gone on to another album. It's so it kind of leaves me sad. Kind of leaves me, Steve.
Yeah.
And Brad hanging out for more. No argument if Take Me Back was the last song on the album. Had they swapped these around, or swapped it, somewhere else in the album track.
Just to leave you sort of more uplifted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than feeling it's like a question mark for me. Yeah.
But clearly there was, maybe the guys in the chat know, what had they had, what was planned, for the next album with Sammy, I know that Dream Theater like doing this with some of their songs. They like to end, a song on an album and then pick it up on the next one. There's this theme running through. Is that something that Van Halen wanted to do? Because it's a strange kind of, I do agree with you, Steve, it's a strange way to end an album, but there must have been a reason why. I don't think it was just because it was the last song or whatever. I think Van Halen fans for the next 50 to 100 years are going to be talking about the same thing long after we're gone, about it's just a thing I brought up, like even in the first episode, like just looking at the album as a whole and where things should go, because people don't listen to music like that anymore. They're just go on Spotify and make a list, and they don't listen to music like certainly like I do. I buy the album, I listen to it beginning to end, and I kind of look and go, I don't think that song should be where it is. That's just the way I am. And then, of course, there's the bonus track crossing over. Yeah. Well, that's what I was going to say. So then,
I would have slotted that in here.
Yeah. If you were lucky enough to hear that.
And there you go. The Japanese fans get to hear another track, and we don't. Like, they have more access.
Yeah, we didn't get that for a long time, crossing over as, so, look, it's a 9 out of 10 for me, guys. I never skip it, but the music fan, the Van Halen nut in me likes to conspire in my mind and think, what could they have done? What plans did they have? And it just ended with Feeling. So, yeah. Are we going to talk about crossing over? We probably are. Yeah, we should.
Brad's going to talk. I need to hear Brad talk about Feeling.
Yeah. But it's never a skip.
So for this song for me, and I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. This is probably when I looked at my iTunes and I looked at how many times this song's been played, it's almost been played as many times as Seven Seal to me.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. I love this track, but I'll explain why. So yeah, it's my most listened to song on the album other than Seven Seal. I love the guitar intro, I love the vocal melody, the way it suits the music. I really like that. The BVs are great. I just love that feeling line. Feeling. It's just got so much power behind it. I'm going to throw the spanner in by saying I think it was a great way to end the record, in the sense where if you go back and listen to, you know, I mean, a lot of bands will end on a fairly sort of morbid or dark vibe. And this is obviously that time frame. You got to remember there was like Kurt had committed suicide. There was a lot of stuff going on. There was that dark grunge thing going on. Everyone was a little bit sort of emotive at the time. So for me, I mean, I've always loved that line when it comes in and it goes, black is white, you know, that part there, that sounds amazing to me. The swing on the drums, at times it's got that Bonham feel to me, John Bonham feel. I know Alex had his own swing and swagger, but that breakdown, then the build up to the solo, the drum fill, the solo, it's a journey in itself, this song. The bass during the lead with no rhythm guitar, the bass is like a steam train. I don't know. And then when it comes back into the out of touch line, I love the dive bomb into that section, into feeling, the outro ascending line. Yeah, and I think Sammy sings his ass off in this, and the ending is really beautiful. And, you know, just touching on what you guys have been saying, and I've been leaving it to this song, that leaves me wanting another Van Halen record with Sammy. It just leaves me wanting it, and it's actually disappointing and sad that they couldn't get their shit together. I didn't mean to swear there, but they couldn't get their stuff together.
Yeah. No, and like I said, Brad, like one of my best friends on the planet that I've known since the first day of grade 8, this was why he went to the concert with me, to see this tour, so that they played his song, Feeling. Yeah. And that's great. And I like the fact that there's always going to be a song that one of us loves and one of us doesn't like. That's what this is all about, is there's going to be a song like this. And my buddy Mike likes it just like you do. He'd say he'd echo the same stuff. And that's awesome. That's what it's about. And that's what makes a band great, is reviewing these songs, and some of the stuff's going to do it for you and some isn't, right? And yeah.
It just makes me want to hear more from them. I mean, it ended the record perfectly, and I would want that and the next song on the record together. I wouldn't want them. I would want Crossing Over to actually finish the record. Oh, right.
No, so it's a good title to lead to the next album. Yeah.
And maybe they sort of, I don't know. Look, to me, I would have excluded a different track to put Crossing Over on.
Like Big Fat Money?
Yeah.
And yeah. If anything, Big Fat Money, and if they needed more space, maybe, you know, the instrumentals to put Crossing Over on, because I love it. But anyway, we're getting to that now. But Feeling for me, it's, like I said, it's the second most played song from this album for me on my iTunes. But obviously, when I first got the record, I didn't have iTunes, and I used to just listen to that song all the time. So, yeah, it's a 10 for me.
Wow. No argument from me. No argument from me. Yeah. Yeah, no argument. I think I'm going to echo what Kurt said here. Amen, Brad. I think, you know, that song conjures up a lot of emotions for Van Halen fans, you know, and I use the word authentic Van Halen fans because, you know, authentic Van Halen fans and the continuity of the band. So, yeah.
I mean, even in the David Lee Roth era, they had darker songs like "Oh Wait" and things like that. There was darker connotations in some of those songs, that they had that sort of mood thing. But for this song in particular, I just think it maybe, especially lyrically, I think Sammy was influenced by the things that were happening at the time.
Well, you had the protests, the Rodney King protests. Were hot in the press. You had the U.S. invasion or liberation of Somalia. So there were a lot of topics happening. And it's reflected in the words of the song. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, actually, because I'm just playing those lyrics back in my mind without putting you guys through the process of me singing the lyrics. Again, I've used this word a couple of times. I think it shows the sophistication of Sammy Hagar as a songwriter. And no disrespect to what he did with Chickenfoot, but he goes into Chickenfoot and he sings about writing, sweet little thing or whatever, hot little girl or something, and I'm going, what happened? You were singing about all this stuff with Van Halen, and now you're singing sweet. What the song? Can you guys remember what the lead single was on Chickenfoot?
There was a sexy little thing.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm going, what happened? Don't get me wrong, it's a great song.
Yeah,
but it's almost as if Sammy went back.
Yeah, and the thing I was waiting to mention to you guys was the Cabo Wabo Cantina and what's going on with that, and the Cabo Wabo tequila brand at this time. Like all of a sudden, like I went down in '93 to the anniversary of the Cabo Wabo, and it that was in '93. No one really knew about the place. Then another year goes by, 94, okay, 95, this album's out. And Sammy Hagar did like a radio, like live broadcast, and Bret Michaels and Richie Kotzen was playing guitar for Poison at the time. They did a live concert, radio broadcast. All of a sudden, the Cabo Wabo Cantina starts getting a lot of traction. Then all of a sudden, he gets a Cabo Wabo tequila brand. He has a house in Cabo. Michealanthony comes to all the anniversaries, and that was the first show I saw in Cabo in '93. So all of us, like Sammy's popularity, like going from solo artist into Van Halen, and all of a sudden, 5150, OU812, the song Cabo Wabo. Then there's a club. Then all of a sudden, everybody's coming to these birthday bashes. It's sold out. Anniversary of the club. All of a sudden, that part of his life and a new wife and a new child. That's when we're talking about this separation that's starting to happen here. And that's something I have to bring up, where all of a sudden, like when he goes and plays in Cabo, like he gets all the best Sammy Hagar fans from around the world congregate in this place. Like I know people from Brazil, St. Louis, from Phoenix, Detroit, Denver, like all these people that I've met that constantly go there. And so all of a sudden he's going, like, I'm trying to understand the breakup of the band at this point after this album. Like he's just going, I don't even know if I need these guys anymore. I'm going to go be a solo artist. And he did that album. And once he was officially out of the band, what was called Marching to Mars, I think was the name of the solo album he did. And he goes, nope, I'm going to do a full-on Sammy Hagar album. Like, I got enough fans on my own, man. I'm going to go out on my own, and I'm not going to deal with these brothers anymore. And they're instrumentalists, and whether they're going to hack me about lyrics or not. And it's just, it's still hard for me because I listen to, like, Seven Seal and Don't Tell Me and Not Enough and how epic these songs are. And then all of a sudden, it's just so strange for me that I mean, you'd say that about any big bands that all of a sudden have a breaking point. I mean, you just don't really know. And you can read Sammy Hagar's biography, or you can read something that Valerie Bertinelli wrote, or all these people. And it's hard to know who to listen to on who's being accurate and who's being honest.
I think, Steve, that's why we have to do the archaeology. That's why
Yeah.
And fans like us like to hang out with each other because we've done that, or we're interested in. I'm interested in what Steve has to say because he's actually been to Cabo Wabo. He's hung out with these people internationally, Kurt, and everyone else in the chats, picked up on this information, and we can share it. And it's fantastic because that's what we have to do, Steve, as fans, is try and work out why. I think what you're doing is wonderful. It's the archaeology that organic fans need to do that probably gives authenticity than some of these guitar hack journalists probably don't do because they just want to get hits for a website. They're not really doing the hard work.
And I have to think of all the guys. So I go back to when David Lee Roth left the band. That's the way I see it, is he left the band to go make a movie. That fell through. Then he puts together an all-star band with Steve Vai, Billy Sheehan, Greg Bissonette on drums, and puts together this wicked band. And that's sort of the same with Sammy. That's it, man. I'm out of here. I'm going to form my own band. I'm going to have it sounds negative now, but I'm gonna have a freaky guitar player, a black guitar player from the band called the Bus Boys. That's Vic Johnson. I'm gonna have a female bass player. I want a band that's like all world, an all world band, and that's what he made. And he was pretty successful with it. And he had the tequila brand. Like he realized I don't need the bitterness, and that's kind of the way I see it. Like Eddie and Alex kind of had their own stuck in the mud sort of Dutch ways, and it's our way or the highway. And he said, you know what, man, I'm out of here. And that's kind of the same. David Lee Roth, all of a sudden Eddie Van Halen has his own studio and he's living there and he's an instrumentalist making all this music, and Dave comes in, sings some lyrics, and he's kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go make a movie, do my own thing. And I'm just trying to understand the singers that had to deal with these guys. Like at some level, they must have been sort of hard to deal with, and they have their own thing as musicians, instrumentalists, and these guys come in basically as the singer. and I'm trying to always understand those two guys, David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar, when they left. It seems like to me they just quit. They had enough of it. They did their decade or so of it, and I want to go be a solo artist again. That's the way I see the Sammy Hagar end of it. And he went off and did his thing, and then formed Chickenfoot, and now he has the Circle, and he's having a great time and enjoying his life. And ultimately, for any of us, we just want to be happy at the end of the day. And if staying in Van Halen after Balance he wasn't going to be happy, that's ultimately what matters. So he said, no way, man, I'm going out on my own. I don't know what you guys feel about that, but yeah.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. And I think, I'm always going to steer anyone that's a Van Halen fan towards, the biography by Sammy as a good point. And maybe we should do a show on Sammy's biography, because there's a lot of stuff.
For God's sake, we're not even at
yet. There's a lot of information in there, and I know a lot of the diehard fans got a little bit upset with Sammy because he was just being honest about his relationship with Eddie, and and the difficulties and some of the situations that the Van Halens were going through. And look, guys, they're men. They're just normal men with mistakes and, virtues that need to be worked on like all of us. The fact that they've produced all this great music, puts them in a spotlight for us, and we kind of expect perfection in their personalities too, but that doesn't happen. But yeah, check out Sammy's biography if you guys haven't, because that gives you a bit of an insight. And I'm glad that the Van Halens, well, Eddie and Sammy made up. I'm glad. That was very, very heartening to hear when Eddie passed away, that they managed to make up, because they did say some bad things. There were some bad things that were said. I'll never forget Sammy Hagar going on about Joe Satriani is the best guitar player I've ever played with, man. He's the best best guitar player in the world, you know, and you go, oh, mate, a couple of years ago you were saying that Eddie Van Halen was, you know. But yeah, you kind of understand. You kind of understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, he would have meant it in a different way. I mean, Eddie's the innovator, but Joe Satriani certainly is a master of the instrument. That's probably
Sherman.
That's probably what he would be getting at. That's why it's hard to take everything you read as concrete, or anything anybody says is concrete. Like even for me, for them to hack Michealanthony, I mean, Brad's touched on it, all the bass playing on Balance or on For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, which is we're going to be doing in a fortnight. I'm excited about that. Is yeah, to even that's when I changed as an Eddie Van Halen fan. I said, how can you hack Michealanthony? Like, I remember the first interviews that, like in 1978 in Guitar Player and stuff that I'd read when I first heard of Eddie Van Halen. I was like, he'd talk about, oh man, yeah, we tried out this guy, Michealanthony, and oh, that guy's a badass on bass guitar, man. I love this guy. And we got him in our band. That's awesome. Okay, we need a singer now. Like, I always remember that. And then you go through all these years, all these albums, and up to Balance, 10 albums and all these tours and everything. And then all of a sudden I'm reading interviews and he's hacking them down and then cutting them out of money. I mean, I think the cutting them out of money went all the way back to like the 1984 tour is what I heard. So that goes way back. And I felt so bad for that guy. Like, I've met Michealanthony. He's the only guy out of Van Halen that I've met, period, is Michealanthony. And he was a total nice guy. His daughter took a photo of me and Michealanthony on the marina in Cabo, and he's the only guy I met. Super nice, and yeah, and that's what everybody says about him, including Sammy. And so anyway, that there was a turning point for me too. Just I got to think about Eddie and his attitude to all these guys. That was the first time I ever did, because everybody saw Eddie as this kind of guy just smiling and playing his guitar and that, but yeah, he started to show some attitude to people and that I had never saw before. This is around this time when it started creeping in, right? That was the first time. But yeah.
He was going through his demons, like battling his demons at the time too. So,
oh, for sure. Yeah.
And the other thing is too, you know, bands are like a marriage. There's always low points. There'll be low points. Then obviously, as you get older, you start to mellow out about those, and you get over it. You know, it's kind of like you realize your mistakes. You know, for right or for wrong, or better for worse, you know, if you can let go and move on and either be friends or, like in a band scenario, you know, even just mutual respect is at the end of it, which is what they had. That's a blessing. I mean, we should be grateful for that. But Ed was going through his things. Everyone was going through their things, and you know, not every marriage is perfect.
Oh
yeah. I just want to give one little warning to us as Van Halen fans and everyone else in the chat too. Just be careful of what you're going to read over the next couple of years in relation to Eddie Van Halen, because you know, it's going to become an industry, and that's a good thing, because through all the crap and shit that we're going to get some good stuff, you know. There's going to be some good books or some good articles coming out, but there's going to be a hell of a lot of crap out there. So just be careful. And I suppose if worse comes to worse, you know, if you want to get Sammy's opinion on something or Valerie's opinion, go to their biographies, because, you know, we've got to take them at their word. Don't take some Rolling Stone article or, you know, some Ultimate Guitar website article, you know, to heart, because I think we're going to get a lot of misinformation, which tends to happen when, unfortunately, someone passes.
Yeah, one of the things I was going to say about an hour ago was do you guys know, I read something today where, did Wolfgang's album, is it actually released, or the single was released? Can it be bought?
No, I haven't heard that.
Oh, okay. I read something about that, like, just before we went on.
Thank you, Luca.
Okay.
From what I understand, the record won't be out till next year.
So for me, that's one of the good things that's happened, is the release of that song, Distance. Yeah.
Are we going to touch
Simon.
over, or are we going to leave that one?
What was that? Sorry, buddy.
We're going to touch on crossing over, or are we going to leave that?
No, we should talk about that. We're at the 3-hour mark, so that's probably a good time to talk about that. I just want to, before we talk about that, I've got a couple of things I need to mention while I've got the time. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll be back in a fortnight's time talking about the Carnal Knowledge record. Now, Brad's going to be doing the introduction for that, and so the sequence will be Brad, Steve, all these bloody S's in my life, and myself. So, and Kurt said that he might join us, so hopefully we might get Kurt on hanging out with us. One question, though, that's been burning on my mind that I want to ask you two guys. So, where does balance sit in the list of Van Halen records? Is it in your top 3, in your top 5, or is it your top 2, or is it your number 1?
Well, I'm definitely a person that separates the bands. Like, I call Van Halen with Sammy Hagar years Van Hagar.
Yep.
So I separate it from the first 6 Van Halen albums with David Lee Roth. I just have to.
Yep.
Because right off the bat, my favorite sort of when I came into it, I mean, Brad's going to touch on that too when we talk about Forunlawful Carnal Knowledge, because that's when he came into it. When I came into it was the 5150 tour. So for me, that's the number one thing, and nothing will ever touch that. Is that tour. And then, but when OU812 came out, like it's hard for me to rank OU812. Is it greater than 5150? Because I my intro to this band was the 5150 tour, so, and then OU812 came out, and that was the first concert I ever went to. So it holds all this weight for me, that OU812 record. So do I like it or rank it more than 5150? It's still murky water for me. I'm still digging through the weeds on what to do, because I love the 5150 tour. I love all the songs. It's a tough one. But for me, balance, where does it sit? Yeah, like it can't be higher than 5150 and OU812 for me, just because that's when I came into this, and all those songs and the Live Without a Net and everything holds more weight for me than balance does. So like balance can't be higher than those two, and either can Forunlawful Carnal Knowledge. It's just not possible. So I look at those 4 albums with Sammy Hagar, and unfortunately, whether it's OU812, 5150, or 5150 and OU812, and Forunlawful Carnal Knowledge and balance, where do they sit? It's the weeds for me. They're definitely 3rd and 4th, but I don't know the order. Because it's just not possible. Because 5150, like the Kramer 5150 guitars I've been building for years, and that's the first tour I saw was in OU812 tour, and going down to the Cobble Wobble, and that song is my favorite Van Halen song. It's just not possible. Like there's a ceiling, and then there's those next 2 albums. So that's where I stand with it. Actually, 3rd or 4th. I'll think about it as you guys put it where you put it right now as I'm sitting here. Yeah. Andrew?
Oh, look, I'm not going to make a judgment at the moment, Steve. I think once we've done the Van Hagar years, I'll give you my rankings, because I don't know, and I just want to be part of the process of getting your feedback on these other albums and Brad's and everyone else's in the chat, just to make at least a list. I don't fear making a list or offering a ranking system, but I can't do it, to be fair. But I thought it would be a question worth asking, and maybe people in the chat are prepared to offer where they see balance. But crossing over, yeah.
For me, I can tell you straight out.
Yeah.
With the Sammy era.
Yeah.
It's Carnal Knowledge, 5150.
Yeah.
OU812.
Yeah, I'm kind of. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of. Yeah. Look, I don't know. You know, I love 5150. I love OU812. I love Carnal. Oh man.
It's a hard. That's this week anyway.
Yeah. Ask me in 4 weeks' time. Ask me next year.
All right.
Carnal Knowledge is one of my favorite all-time Van Halen records.
Oh, mate, hard to beat that one, eh?
Anyway, we'll touch on that next week. But let's get Crossing Over done because
yeah, we're at 3 hours. Cool.
Yeah, so guys, I didn't like rate this on the list and give it a ranking, or I didn't even listen to it. So I can't really, if you guys listen to it, you guys go ahead. I didn't rank it or listen to it even for this. So Andrew, go ahead.
Well, I only heard the song 10 years ago. 10 years ago. So as a standalone song, it's an interesting song. It fits into the mood with the album. Disappointed we didn't get it on the album because I would have loved to have heard it 25 years ago. You know, in the context. But as I see it. I see it as an interesting song. I think it's a song that Van Halen fans have to know, hardcore Van Halen fans have to know. And I know that Johnny Bean has spoken about the song a few times on his show and points out to a lot of people. And I know a lot of Van Halen fans, when I've been watching his show in the chat, didn't even know that the song existed. So if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. I give it a 7 out of 10. Maybe when they go through and do these repackaging and remastering of these Sammy albums of Van Halen, which they haven't done yet, they might include it. So we might have to do the show all over again, guys.
I don't have a problem with that.
I'll just keep my notes. Keep my notes.
Because the one thing I like about this, I always leave going, I have to listen to Feeling. And for this show, I have to listen to that more because I've already like Girl Gone Bad. I missed out on that. So that's the one thing I like about this is you guys giving insight on a song that doesn't quite do it for me like other songs do. That's why I like these shows. Yeah, interesting. Everybody's giving their sort of top 4 of the Sammy Hagar years. Luca says, in terms of production balance and Forunlawfulcarnalknowledge is superior. Yeah, no doubt, Luca. And I understand that. The other thing you have to realize is like a song, we're going to get to it in 2 weeks, but a song like Pound Cake, that riff, the main riff in Pound Cake is 6 guitars recorded to make it huge. And that's different.
But isn't that great? Isn't that fantastic?
No. So I'm just saying, from a guy like me, I'm the Kramer 5150 into his old Marshall, and whatever he does, digital delay or a harmonizer, and then into his old Marshall. That's the sound of his guitar that I like, and that's why I understand production-wise. They get Andy Johns, make it huge, make it sound like When the Levee Breaks. I get it, but that's not the Kramer 5150. Through some pedals into his old Marshall. It's a different sound. It totally changed when he went to those eddievanhalen and his peaveyamps. It was a different thing. And the layering of all these guitars, he wasn't doing that on OU812 and 5150. That's why it doesn't sound like that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
So Andrew, Crossing Over.
Did you listen to it, Brad? Crossing Over?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so what's your rating? I give it a 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10. All right. Well, Crossing Over, I mean, it's a darker song. We know what it's roughly about. You know, it's that whole thing of, making contact with someone crossing over. Mm-hmm. The vibe is very different for them. That pulsing sort of bass line where it stabs in with the panning guitars. I love the overtones. I got goosebumps listening to it, so I gave it 9 out of 10. I can hear sustainer, like the sustainer in there. And the bit that gave me goosebumps, and I've made note here, is the ascending guitar line at the very end. It's really classy. So if you go and have a listen,
yeah,
it's like they channeled. They just, this song should have been on the record, and it should have been the last song.
yeah. Look, no argument from me, and I think that's the interesting thing about maybe when they do a remaster, Brad. You know, will they do that? You know, will they put that on the album? You know, they should.
So I mean, look, what I'm saying is, from an original track listing, I mean, I would have swapped a couple of the songs around and put Crossing Over in as the last track. Feeling, then Crossing Over, then that would have been it. But that's just me. You know.
How did you feel? How did you feel being a Van Halen fan and Eddie passing away and listening to that song over the last month and a half? Is that something you want to share with us?
I think I've had moments like this. Songs not so much crossing over. When Crossing Over, yes, actually, it kind of raised a different emotion for me listening to it now, because it's not actually on any of the recordings I've got. So I've got it separately, and it's on iTunes. Is it on iTunes or whatever? I can't remember. Spotify. It's on Spotify, and it's on YouTube as well. But I've heard it 10 years ago. About like you, Andrew, I never heard it for about 10 years. I didn't hear it, and I never knew it existed. But after I heard it, but that song in particular, like Not Enough, and like those real sort of love songs and those mellow ones are the ones that I still get a little bit emotional about passing from those, to be honest with you. Like Dreams, for some reason that got me into Van Halen through watching TV, you know, the fighter jets, you know, and that whole song, I had no idea who the band was, and then obviously I saw Jump and things like that. But I guess Crossing Over, that song does touch it. Listening to it back, it's different now because it's past, you know.
I so me, the other side of the spectrum on this subject, it was really like I didn't think about that at all when I listened to this. I was for me, it was the song Distance that Wolfgang put out. I still haven't gone back and listened to it because, like I told you guys, 30-40 seconds in a couple of weeks ago, I was just, forget about it. I can't listen to this. Like that sent me over the border and the edge, and I haven't gone back to it yet. I'm kind of waiting for some kind of official release, and then I can play it in my car. That's what I'm waiting for. So, I wasn't thinking about that when I was listening to Balance. It was just actually because of Andrew loving Seventh Seal on his Van Halen top 10. I was really listening to that song extra hard for my review of it, and I was thinking about that, and of course, Don't Tell Me. Those are the two huge tracks on here for me, and to play any of this for anyone, you know, I'd still go to Not Enough. You could play basically for anyone, and I mean, how could someone say they don't like that between the piano and the lyrics and the whole?
I agree, Steve. It's a masterpiece. The song in itself is a masterpiece because of that. Because of that.
Exactly what you got at the bottom of the screen there, Andrew, where it says Johnny Bean's put Dreams, sounds totally different. Now, you know, I can like listening to like Why Can't This Be Love even the other day, I got overwhelmed. It's kind of like I'm still having those moments, but I can listen to Van Halen now where I think like 2-3 weeks afterwards I was having trouble listening to Van Halen straight away. It's just that Distance song from Wolf, I've only listened to it twice. I can't listen to it properly yet.
I haven't listened to it once. I couldn't get through it.
I love it, but especially the film clip, it's just overwhelming. I think that whole thing of father son sort of thing, and that sort of hits.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. So yeah, I mean, crossing over. When I listened to it again last night, I listened to Balance again in its entirety last night before today, and I put crossing over on last, where I thought it should be on the record, obviously as a release. And I was listening to the lyrical content, and I actually thought, wonder what Sammy would think if he listened back to that song now.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Mm.
I'm sure, what a, so that's the end of Van Hagar. That's the end of Van Halen, isn't it? That's
that's interesting. That's interesting what you just said, Brad. The whole, just that title, crossing over. It's kind of like, okay, see you later, guys. I'm out of here. Maybe that's why it wasn't on the like North American regular release or whatever that I have. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, that's Balance.
Yeah. What an album! What an album! And again, I suppose one of the great things about the three of us getting together and hanging out with cats in the chat is that I'm going to keep saying it. This is our generation's Jimi Hendrix. This is the guy that we were lining up to get records and CDs for. This is the guy that we were going to bookshops to get magazines because he was on the cover of, it was Sammy, man. I mean, sorry, it was Eddie. And
And thanks to Johnny B and Kurt in the chat for every week they've been throwing up facts and stats, and that's awesome that you're here, guys, sticking it out with us.
Appreciate that. And special shout out always goes to Johnny Bean, because Johnny Bean was the guy that we all met through. He was the cool cat. He's the guy. He was the guy that hooked us up. Remember, there's always the guy at school that or the cool cat that hooked everyone up.
Yeah. I wouldn't have a camera. I'm not even joking. I wouldn't have a camera on my computer if it wasn't for him. I wouldn't even be here.
Yeah. Well, that's right. And
I wouldn't have met Brad from Australia and Andrew from New Zealand without Johnny B, actually, because he. I said, hey man, I've got like 30 guitars here. I got to get on your show and talk about Van Halen guitars. And so you got to get a camera. So I got this Logitech camera, and he got me on one Saturday. We spent like 3 hours trying to get me like logged on, and that was the whole start of that. So
No, special shout out to Johnny, because he is our grandfather in terms of social connections with Van Halen. And Johnny, you do a wonderful job on your channel. If you guys haven't subscribed, if anyone's watching a replay and has inadvertently missed Johnny Bean's channel, please check it out, because that is the channel that you should go to for all things Van Halen. That's the key. What we're doing here is just a couple of cats just hanging out, ranking some Van Halen songs, but Johnny's going to keep us all up to play with Van Halen. So we're all a family here, and we're all hanging out, and we're all sort of in our own kind of individual and group ways, trying to work out what the future means for music without Eddie Van Halen, because he was such a big part of our lives. Brad, you went out in 1995 to get this album. So did I. You've still got the 1995 price on that album cover. I paid $39 for that CD in New Zealand when it came out.
$27.95.
Yeah.
It isn't there anymore. It's gone.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hold that up so people can see. Look at that, $27.95 Australian dollars.
Yeah. And this one, hang on, let's try and get it on. It's $7.95 for a single.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Mate, I would have gone without beer for 2 weeks to get that CD when I was drinking.
Like, Current Knowledge was around that time when I was you know, just getting into guitar playing and things like that. So carnal knowledge and everything from that was like my exciting time to race out and buy a Van Halen record that was current, like being released. It was, for me, it's always been, but going backwards as well has been fun too from that point, obviously.
Yeah. So again, one more shout out to Johnny. You know, if it wasn't for Johnny and what he did, we wouldn't have the British Electric Blues Show, you know, which is our Sunday night show, whereas, you know, Simon and I and Brad talk about, you know, English, British blues. So we love that. And we're just so lucky to have Steve Anderson do a fortnightly show with us.
Yeah, guys. So I just related to the Balance album, some other stuff to show. This is the Inside magazine. Look at it, says Wham Bam, oh Amsterdam. This is this is issue number 2. And, you know, they have all this stuff that lingers around. Like down over here, it has The Lost Weekend from 1984 with our friend Stu Jeffries, who sometimes chimes around on all these shows, who won The Lost Weekend with Van Halen, was backstage and went on stage. And so I'm going to mention this as we go on in time here. Is the Inside magazine, it was kind of a thing for me because I knew the guy, Jeff Hausman, who started this. Before this, he had a thing called Eruption Video, where I would get like old Van Halen concerts on VHS. You could order it out of the back of Rolling Stone magazine. And so he went from the 16 issues of this to the Van Halen store. He's got all the stuff in his basement. Whether you buy sneakers or bandanas or Van Halen posters, like he has all the stuff in his basement and runs his business out of there. And but the thing about this is, here you are looking at, this is live on like the Balance tour, and then on the back it always lingered. Oh, here's Van Halen with David Lee Roth on stage. Like, I'm not being negative. I'm just, my honest opinion is stuff like this is cool. What kind of brought David Lee Roth back into the picture. And all of a sudden, Sammy Hagar leaves Van Halen. There's a Sam and Dave tour. Hey, and then Valerie Bertinelli says, hey, David Lee Roth, you know, he's got hair plugs in. He's blonde. He's got a kick-ass band. He's playing with Sammy Hagar. He's playing all the Van Halen stuff. And it's all the Van Halen stuff that when they reunited in 2007, that they played. So they did Running with the Devil, You Really Got Me, Everybody Wants Some, Romeo Delight. Like, it was all the same stuff that Dave was doing with his solo band. And I went to that tour. David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar, the Sam and Dave tour, like 2001, right around there somewhere, I think. So I kind of almost blame my buddy Jeff and this magazine. Like, even though here's a current shot at that time, issue number 2, but it's always lingering. David Lee Roth is always around. And we're talking about The Lost Weekend, and the old Van Halen fans, they want this. They want to see David Lee Roth back in the band. And it's so interesting for me, the path of what happens. All of a sudden, 2 issues after this, they got Garycherone on the cover, issue number 4. And then a few years later, there's the Sam and Dave tour, and Valerie Bertinelli saying, hey, you got to check out David Lee Roth on the Sam and Dave tour. He sounds pretty good. And he did. Like, when I saw them, and it was James Lomenzo, who's the bass player from the original White Lion with Vito Bratta, and he was an Eddie clone. He was in Dave's band, James Lomenzo. And and they had a kick-ass guitar player with the band, and who did all the Eddie stuff note for note. And it's just interesting for me as an outsider fan, looking at like this span from Balance to what happens in the end, and all of a sudden Dave's in the band, and I'm still looking at these going, he was always lingering around, David Lee Roth, even though Balance and those old Van Halen fans, they want this. And so I was always sometimes disappointed when I'd get these, and there'd be the old Van Halen stuff sort of creeping around in it. It was like, here it is. Here's the shot. There's our buddy. This is Stu Jeffries with David Lee Roth backstage, and there's Van Halen up here. There's Stu Jeffries is a guy who chimes in on these shows, like I was saying, but they always had these little things that happened in Van Halen's past with David Lee Roth in these magazines. And like these magazines, once Garycherone was in the band, these were being sold at the Van Halen concerts. And yeah, so it's all part of this history and the chain of events that happened. And yeah, I still always look at these kind of funny, because I was like, man, like you just keeping David Lee Roth alive in these magazines. That's the way I always looked at it. And yeah, just knowing all these different people that even the guy who made these magazines, it's interesting to be like know these people, and all of a sudden David Lee Roth's back in the band, and then all of a sudden they make an album, and Wolfgang's in the band, and Sammy and Mikey, they're not coming back, and yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, I look forward to when we do the David Lee Roth years too, and we can talk a little bit about that, and when we that's going to be interesting too. But in the meantime, we've got something really special to look forward to. In 2 weeks' time, Brad's going to be leading the discussion on.
Say nothing, and Brad can just talk.
Well, we got to do it democratically. We got to take turns, and So Brad's doing carnal knowledge. I'm going to do OU812, and then it's back to the Rummeister for 5150. So
we might have to negotiate that.
Okay. Do you want to swap?
I might.
Do you want to swap?
I might want to do the OU812. Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I think I'd give you if you want to do 5150.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I dig that. I'm a sharing kind of guy. No. Look, I know that album's important to you, and so obviously the key is to get some information out there. I'm going to be in touch with Kurt over the next couple of weeks, so we may have another co-host on with us. I do appreciate Kurt and his support, and everyone else. I'm sure my co-hosts here do. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Check out Brad's channel, because he's a gig. Well, he's got an EP out. He's a practicing musician. Hopefully soon to be gigging. He's recording and writing material. So if you guys can support Brad, I'll put his link up if anyone doesn't already have that, and you can follow Brad on his social media. There it is there.
Thanks.
Brad is a sponsor of the channel. We'll be on tomorrow. You get two shows this weekend. I'll be on with Simon and Brad, and we're going to be going through the Beano album, so check in for that one. And what's Steve got there? He's got something else to show us.
Yeah, this is issue number 3, so this was the next issue, and it's sort of like nearing the end of the Balance tour, and then it says the Cabo tour 95, where after this ended, Sammy was off the Cabo. That's what was going on back then. And of course, like I mentioned before, who's lingering on the back cover? Van Halen 1978. Yeah.
It's almost like it's, the Old Testament and the New Testament, they've got to be together.
Yeah.
Awesome. Is that us, guys? You guys happy with that? What do you guys in the chat think? Do you think that we've done a good job? Everyone happy?
We're trying.
Oh, well, look, look, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate your feedback and your input, because I'm here to learn too, that's why I do it. Appreciate it.
And just to correct the guys, I'm doing the Dr. Alan Garber thing. The guys in the chat are talking about David Lee Roth. The David Lee Roth band, the DLR band, had Bart Walsh in it, who passed away.
Yes.
But on the Sam and Dave tour, the guy's name was Brian Young. He played a green Charvel. He was the guitar player on the Sam and Dave tour. That's who David Lee Roth with James Lomenzo. His name was Brian Young. And if you're doubting me, Go on YouTube. 2001 Sam and Dave tour. His name's Brian Young. He's an awesome guy. And he played a Grange Charvel. He had 2 of them that Wayne Charvel himself made for Brian for that tour. Yeah. Anyway,
no one's going to doubt the rum meister. Thank you very much, Luca. Thank you, Luca. I'm going to do another little shout out. If you guys haven't subbed to the channel, please do, because that way you'll keep in touch. And as we get towards Christmas, we're probably going to have to negotiate between the 3 of us what we're going to do with that Christmas period, and holiday period. So we mightn't be on as frequently over the holiday period, because we have a holiday here in Australia and New Zealand, Steve. That's our summer holiday break. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm off from December 18th to January 4th. Just basically sitting around here because Canada, we're under quarantine. I can't go anywhere.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
if I do, I got to learn.
Right. Well, I'm going to say thank you very much, guys, for watching us, and I'm going to pass it on to the other 2 co-hosts for them to do their conclusions and their thanks. And I'm just going to ask one more thing. Please stay safe.
Awesome. I just want to thank the guys in the chat here. Definitely Johnny Bean and Kurt, and definitely Luca. He's been saying some great things in there. And thanks for everybody being here. And just remember, when you're out there with your masks and going into restaurants and shops and everything, Christmas shopping, open a door for somebody, as our friend Ben Coombs from Ontario would say. I look forward to hopefully we'll get together in 2 weeks, a fortnight. What are we looking at? December 18th? Friday, December 18th? Is that possible, Andy?
Yeah. That's fine for me. Yeah.
So get your pigskin cover for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album out, the pigskin of a football, and crank up Pound Cake Judgment Day, spanked in and out right now, top of the world, 316. Let it rip.
And Brad's going to do the intro, so get ready for some deep diving. Love it.
I'm going to put it out there that I'm going to do as deep diving as I can, but I want all you guys in the chat now to be involved in that as well, because there's so much knowledge and wealth within the chat that I can tell. So, wherever we're doing these, it's great that you guys, and thanks to everyone for joining in and being part of this, because it's a lot of fun for us, because we're just fans. We love Van Halen. So
yeah, man.
People that are like us, like-minded souls, but know more than us, that's even better. So come on, share, and thanks to our old friends in the chat and our new friends as well, because there's some new people, and and the support that I've been getting from the people in the chats with my own socials and things like that. So yeah, I don't really get a chance to thank everyone, but thank you. That's and I'm busting at the seams to do Carnal Knowledge record.
Oh man.
and our friend Kurt S in the chat, he saw him at the Gorge. So Kurt was at 2 concerts that I was at the Gorge, the Balance tour and the Sam and Dave tour in around 2001 probably. So that's 2 shows that Kurt S and I were at the same show, and we've never met.
Wow.
Until now.
Wow. Well, the dream is over. I think, well, when you consider this album, the dream is over. Yeah, you're right, Kurt. The dream is over.
And one of
Rest
the great
in peace.
one of the great songs we used to play was actually Man on a Mission. I love that song because I love the riff of that song. Yeah.
Rest in peace, EVH.
Yeah. Ben.